Good shit, Coffee.
The copium is real, man. I think John Caroni could probably kill somebody and they'd still defend him. But anyways, because somebody said earlier that we didn't go over like everybody else's transactions, and it's just like incredible to me because, yeah, we literally did that. We went through every single team member, and then every time that happened, everyone just said, "Oh, that's old FUD." So it's kind of a weird.
So that was
weird
me.
Thing to say.
That was me. Hi, I'm Carly. Did you do that in this past video or did you do that in another video? Because admittedly, I haven't watched all of your videos, man.
Oh, yeah, that was in the first video I did about it and the second video and a little bit in the third video. So okay. I talked about Kyle, then I talked about Ben Phillips, then I talked about Papa, then I've talked about basically everybody, every key member. I talked about Fudhound, I've talked about Charles Caroni. I mean, I've talked about basically everyone. It just so happens that the person left standing is John Caroni, so he's the one relevant to speak about.
Yeah.
Hey, Coffee. Quick question. I don't know if you're able to elaborate, but what assets was he trying to bring cross border?
I really don't know. I mean, that's why I say I don't know, is because it's not specified in the lawsuit. But I don't think he's been back to Gambia since. And the lawsuit specifies that when they found out about it, they were pretty kind of upset. But nothing specified as like far as like it literally could have been anything. I don't know. This is just his mom's accusation.
It was the ambassador's car.
I'm sorry, what?
It was the ambassador's car.
They said it was his car? He took his car?
Yeah, I believe so. He stole the ambassador's car, drove to the border, and bribed the border guards to let him cross without a passport.
Caroni's badass.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious! It's hilarious.
Amy, do you have proof of that?
Wait, he took.
I believe it, but do you have proof?
Yeah, it was in TNT's posts. I mean, I really am confused because, you know, there's so many things in your videos which you either leave out intentionally or you deliberately make misleading. I'm really confused, Coffee. So going back to your first video, you said, so you actually got Strider to go on video saying this. You never said that there was $100 million in the V1 honeypot, right? You never said that. You got Strider to come on for about a 5-second clip, and you got Strider to say John stole $100 million. And then as soon as he'd said that for 5 seconds, you cut him out and took the rest of the glory. But every single person knows there was not $100 million in the V1 honeypot. That was obviously absurd. Everyone knew it as soon as you posted it. So why did you do that? Why did you get Strider to say $100 million when everyone knew it was $6.5 million?
Sure. I think you're attributing a lot of malice for what was a simple mistake. I mean, I think from the way you're talking, hold on, let me finish. You just talked, so let me actually answer. It seems from your tone that you think I'm like this like cartoonish villain with like, this master plan here. But the truth is actually quite simple. We divvied up all the work for this whole thing between myself, Bootsy, and Strider. Both of them did great work as well. And one of the things that Strider was really focused on was this V1 honeypot. Now, as everyone knows, we miscalculated that. And so that was just what it was. But he came on because that was his part that he focused on. And it turned out that he was wrong. It was only 6.3 million, which I know everyone thinks that's like, it's funny to me that that's like the big like, ooh, Coffezilla got something wrong. They only stole $6.3 million from us.
Like it's a win.
It's just such a funny like own because it's implicit in the realization is that money was stolen from you guys and you don't care. You don't care that it hasn't been returned to you. So yes, we made a mistake. I'm very public about the fact that we made a mistake. I'm very open with admitting it. Ultimately, as the creator of the video, it's on me as well to make sure I do my best to make sure these things are accurate. As you probably, even if you think I'm some cartoonish villain, you can probably understand that with the complexity of this story, there's just a lot going on. So to me, if the one thing we got wrong was that we said it was X number of dollars, but still millions were stolen, I don't see that as that big of a deal. And the reason that, Strider talked about it instead of me was simply because that was his focus on the project. So does that kind of answer your question?
Well, it's an answer. But the thing is,
well, it's the answer. So I don't know what you mean.
But the thing is, you use a lot of research from other people, including myself.
Okay, Coffezilla, I have a question for you once you finish with the robot, okay?
Yeah, you use a lot of research from other people, and the thing is, the only time anyone else said anything in your video was for that $100 million, and you reacted to it. You Striker said it was 100 million, and then you come on and react like $100 million. Wow! I mean, it was so obviously a setup to make Strider liable for saying that.
Amy, he said they made a mistake, and he corrected it earlier.
Wait, I'm confused. Do you think is your allegation that I deliberately put in $100 million hoping that no one would notice? Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah.
And so that I could absolve myself of responsibility? Is that I think that's what you're getting at?
Yes, that's absolutely it.
That's completely insane.
Okay,
I hate to tell you, it might sound shocking.
One at a time.
I would rather get everything right in my video than have a single mistake in my video that idiots like you can try to hold over my head. I mean, it's completely insane.
Whoa, Coffee.
Shit, I'd rather give $10 to everybody.
One at a time. Let's keep it. It's a good conversation.
So I have a question, Coffezilla.
Sure.
So earlier, you were afraid of exposing John Coroni's address. Are you aware that we already know all the addresses? Will you be able to disclose now the addresses of his houses?
No,
Bro,
I don't
me?
feel comfortable
No.
doing that. That's definitely not something I want to do. I've noticed other people have posted his address publicly. I think that's very bad practice. I think that doxing is never okay, which is why I think it's so silly that John Coroni himself, put his own mother's address in the thing. By the way, I just want to make a quick, I didn't mean to call, I guess, $1, whoever the last person I was talking to, I apologize for calling you.
Amy the robot.
You're not an idiot.
Yeah, she's not an
but
idiot.
it's just a little frustrating to hear people kind of assume
really
the worst of me.
She's a genius.
But I don't want to say, I try not to call names or anything like that. I just, I take my work very seriously, as I think you probably guys can understand. And so it's kind of weird when people assume I'd purposely get something wrong, but it's not my intention to kind of get heated here. So I wanted to say that real quick. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask him a question. And I would like to point out that I do think Amy is probably very smart as well, but to think that Coffee's willing to ruin the claim of the entire video in order to make one guy look bad is extremely illogical, rather than just get the information right. Like, oh, we had this information wrong, I'm gonna make this guy look super bad. But my question, Coffee, is regarding the fact that John put the address of his parents in his lawsuit, which is basically doxing them. Do you know if he had to do that?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think it's very strange. I think he could have easily said, because he doesn't actually specify the number. He only specifies the street name. So clearly there was some tiny amount of redacting done. But I mean, if you just guess how many houses are on the average street, it doesn't take a lot of work to find, their actual address once you have them pinned down to the, street name. So I think my guess is that he probably could have done something like, just say the general location, things like that. But instead, also, I just think it's ridiculous to sue your parents anyways, especially for what is essentially 120 grand when you walked away with millions. That's what was so weird to me about the whole lawsuit. It's like the juxtaposition of Coroni getting bent out of shape about a few $100,000 that his mom
ego.
may or may not have. Let's just assume the worst case scenario, his mom embezzled $200,000, which I don't believe is true. I think that's a total lie. But assuming that it's true, how could Coroni of all people get upset about it when we know what he did with millions of dollars of investor money?
Because of his ego. It could have been $5. It's ego. It's all ego driven. It's to prove a point and to not be wrong. The monetary value is irrelevant. It's all about his ego.
Or it could be a way to shift blame.
Vix, change the title, put 365 Vix.
Actually, I'm going to, and I love you all that are up here, but
No, you're not.
I'm gonna change the title and put What
people.
was I gonna put? White
I've got
privilege.
a bunch of people want to come up.
Vic, you're lagging,
People
Vic.
control
Nobody knows what either of you are saying.
to be a professional.
I
Stop
know.
talking over each.
Okay, now everybody's muted.
There is like 4 or 5 people trying to get up though, so if anyone
I love you all.
doesn't have a question,
A couple of you, just to make sure that everyone gets the ability of asking questions.
I'll step down. I'll go down to listener.
Does anybody else have any questions?
If I could say this really quick, Coffee, because one thing that was kind of funny in the video was you're saying that John is being, accused of embezzlement, so he like shifts the blame to his mom. Do you think that maybe part of this was to try to say that, oh, he had Operation Phoenix and he had all these great projects, but really it was his mom's fault for, whatever? Do you think that it's maybe an attempt to shift the blame?
Maybe. I mean, to some extent, I really think he might be this petty. I think he actually is sort of possibly this vindictive. And I think he really did probably get in a disagreement with his parents. And I think he really did do this. I mean, from the fallout of this whole lawsuit being made public by John, I don't think, probably in hindsight, knowing how much press this would get him, he would have done it again. I think that he honestly just like accidentally leaked all this information because he really was upset about, this $258,000 that his mom allegedly embezzled or whatever from him. I mean, it's just completely insane. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you go from the van to the Lambo, so fast. It's just it's a head trip.
what's your take on the fact that it's listed as like his personal investment, because he was selling it as, dark moon in Area 32, and that's what that was supposed to be. So now he's saying it was a personal investment. That's, to me, that was like the biggest kind of takeaway from that entire video.
Well, it's a huge bombshell, right? Like it's the obvious bombshell. And what I've been saying this whole time, which is people told me from, after Wienergate, when John exposed himself in front of everybody and, revealed where all his money was, everyone told me, oh, that's a company wallet. Oh, that's not his personal funds. Oh, he hasn't taken his personal funds. So this was the biggest bombshell for sure, because we find out that, yes, in fact, John Caroni had allegedly, according to his mother, who would know, millions of dollars of personal wealth, which we know only could have come from SafeMoon, because prior to this, he was living in a van, right? So, yeah, absolutely, like,
confirmed by
4K,
David.
confirmed.
Hundreds by David.
Sorry?
We have David down there, his uncle. He's just throwing hundreds at your statement, so I'm taking that as a confirmation as well.
Yeah, Caroni's uncle's down there.
Look,
Also,
I don't think
Floodhound is
anyone
here.
in
We got the whole
Caroni's
Scan
family,
crew.
I don't know personally, but I don't think anyone in Caroni's family is on very good terms with him. And I say this as not having talked to any of them, but literally just, you can look at their public statements. I mean, it's pretty obvious that everyone has shifted hardcore on Caroni. And this is just a pattern of behavior with him. I mean, all his colleagues have come to me. Well, most of his colleagues have come to me and said, hey, John Caroni's horrible to work with. He's like a monster. That was one of the quotes. He's a monster. I only like John when he's depressed. I mean, when all your colleagues are doing this, when your family turns their back on you, it's pretty obvious that like there's something else going on. It can't just be everyone else's fault.
Go ahead, Mickey. And can anyone else who wants to talk just raise their hands? If we don't, we'll just cycle more people in.
We got Mickey, and then what is the Vaquero?
What up, Coffezilla? I have a question, my man. Are you looking to drop a Grove token video anytime soon?
I don't know if it's anytime soon per se. I do think there's a lot of shady things that have happened there, but to me, it's like a huge repeat of SafeMoon. It's not. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Like, how many times do you cover the exact same token or a very similar token and reveal it to be a scam? It's just.
But they got
a
like, chic though, my man. They got a chic. All right, that's.
I have heard that. I would love it if the Fudhound came up, or Papa, or David, or I don't know. Can we get one of them to come up? I think that would make this space really fire.
We
so
roast
maybe
them so much that they're afraid to come up again.
Wait, is the Fudhound here?
The Fudhound
here. Yeah, we got the whole crew here.
I want him to. I know he's he says himself he's Mr. Ethics. I feel like that's fair. So I think the ethical thing to do at this point is come forward and actually talk about the truth about John Karony.
Yeah, the case is closed. Federhound, come up.
Facts. You're not in danger no more, my man. Come up.
I mean, he's the one who he put his reputation on the fact that people were going to get refunded for the V1 to V2 migration, right? That was his whole thing. Is everyone
Didn't he get fired for that?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know
to
because
load
he hasn't ever spoken publicly on it. And I just feel like, again, if you want to be a man of ethics, you can't just support things when things are going great. You have to also stand up for what's right when things are going bad. And I think he owes it to the people.
Yes. Right. Oh, it was.
Fudhound lied about being able to fix the V1 honeypot. He lied about people being repaid. He lied about quitting. Even about a month ago on a space, he still said that he quit when he posted on Twitter some bullshit on Twitter. But we all know he was fired by letter, which we've all seen. So why would anyone even want to listen to Fudhound? He just lies.
I think it's relevant. I think it'd be very relevant if he's now unattached to SafeMoon. He'd have no reason. Why would he lie?
Because he still lied. About a month ago, he was lying. A month ago, when he got fired from Reflex, he was still on a Twitter space saying, oh, I taught the CEO everything I know. And, well, I taught the president of the company everything I know. So now he's good enough to be the CEO. Like, that's what he was saying a month ago.
He's coming
up. He's lying. He's lying because he's still starting shitcoin scams.
Yeah, and because he's broke, because he lost all his money.
Facts. What a bunch of scammers.
While he's connecting, can we let Vaquero ask his question?
Yeah, Vaquero, go ahead.
Vaquero.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. Coffee, man, you're a legend, man. You're one of my favorites. You and Zach XBT. I just want to ask, what blockchain analytics tools do you use?
I really like BigQuery, Dune. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of great ones. Honestly, it's really like the right tool for the right job, right? DBank, 8board. There's a million. Etherscan, BSC scanner, obviously great tools. You just kind of have to. It just depends what you're looking for. And some are easier than others. Crystal blockchain, I like. I just got a beta access to Arkham Intelligence. There's a lot of really cool ones. Obviously, I don't want to bore everyone here, but yeah, this is some quick stuff. Oh, and breadcrumbs also, obviously. All right, what else do we have?
We've got the Fudhound.
I thought the Fudhound was connected.
Yeah, he's up.
Yeah,
he's here.
Perfect.
He's here.
Okay, Fudhound, you're here. Finally, let's hear the truth about what happened. Did you get fired? Did you quit? What happened to the V1, V2? Tell us all.
Let's
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good, man.
I just want to correct the record. There's some girl saying that I'm a scammer. Listen, let me explain something to everybody here and anybody who's actually followed me. Number one, I had no communication. I didn't know anybody at SafeMoon when I started. I've been in tech for 15 years. Here I am, someone making YouTube videos because I believed in the project.
Yeah, we know.
I believed in what SafeMoon was doing. I believed that what they said they could do, they could do. So I started getting proactive because that's who I am, and I started making YouTube videos and trying to help out the project. This was well before I had any communication with the team. As a matter of fact, I put $30,000 of my own money in at a high, at probably the peak. I got my fiance at the time to put in $15,000. Okay.
Can you
so,
skip
no,
to the
hold on.
juicy
I'm not
part?
done. I want to make sure.
Hey,
Maroni, shut up.
Let him talk.
Is she still your fiance?
Yeah, shut up. Let him
I
talk.
want to make sure I set this foundation first so that everybody understands the entire story. Okay.
Okay, well, if you're starting from foundations,
Hey,
first,
can we mute her, please? She keeps interrupting.
First, if you said you want to start from foundations, so let's get one thing straight. I didn't call you a scammer. You came up here and said that I called you a scammer. I didn't call you a scammer. I called you a liar. A liar is different from a scammer. So there, that's the foundations. Unmuted.
365 is going to shit.
Also, Coffezilla, just so you know, a lot of your work probably came from Amy, not just Bootsy and TNG.
I'm very well aware of who Amy is. Yeah.
Yeah, be nice to Amy.
So that's who Dollar is.
Okay, can we let the Fudhound finish? We brought him up here to hear his story. Can we let him finish, please?
All right. So, as I was saying, yes, if you say someone's creating a scam token, you're essentially saying they're a scammer. I don't know in what world you're coming from where you say, oh, well, I didn't call you a scammer, but you created a scam token, or you're probably creating scam tokens. First of all, I've never created a token in my life. Okay? Now,
I didn't say you did. I called you a liar. You're just making shit up.
All right.
You're making shit up.
As I said, when I came into SafeMoon, I came in to help out. Okay? I saw a few kids trying to build out a product. I've shipped and built many technology products, 2 of which were acquired. Okay? So I think I know what I'm doing when it comes to tech. So I came in, thought I could lend a helping hand, put in $30,000 of my own money, had my fiance put in $15,000 at a high, only to watch that money dwindle down to almost nothing. Okay? But what do? Do I sit on the sidelines and say, hey, you know what? Let me just watch my money fall and plummet and crash down to the ground? Or do I get proactive and start trying to help out? That's when I reached out to the team. That's when I started building tech on my own and said, hey, I think I have something that could help you guys, be legitimate, like really help out your company. Showed that to the team. They loved it. They were like, wow, we can't believe how much you got done. We would love to have you on board. Yes, please help us out. That was when SafeMoon brought me in as global head of products. I got brought in to do a job, and that's like all I did is do a job. Me personally, I can't speak to all the things that are happening with private keys, what are happening behind the scenes. I don't know what was happening. I didn't have access to any of that information. I wasn't privy to any backdoor conversations. I wasn't privy to, private key housing and how money with Bitmart. No, I don't know any of that. As a matter of fact, when I came in as global head of products, one of my jobs was try to find out where all the revenue streams are coming from. So when I came in, I'm trying to figure out where all the revenue streams are coming from. Hey, I'm asking other team members, hey, how are we paying for this? How are we paying for that? As I'm trying to build out a revenue model, I can't because, all the pieces aren't there. So I can't really help anyways. So there's nothing much I can do. So I'm kind of blocked on that. I'm like, well, as long as my dev team gets fed and as long as we can keep pushing products like the app, like, all the other products that we've, the swap and all the other products we've created, we're good to go. And I will bring my experience to the table and I will push the best damn app you guys have ever had. And in that time, that's what we did. So
That's not the best damn app we've ever had.
Well, you know what? It was something from nothing. And we did that in a few months.
I just wanted to be clear. Like, there's a lot of other things that were built better with a lot less money. And I'm not saying that you stole the money or whatever. So that wasn't.
And I'll tell you this, I was hired as an employee. I was paid as an employee. I was paid a salary every month. And that's what I did. And I came in and I did a job. That was it. So if there's
So what happened to the B1 honeypot?
What was that?
What happened to the B1 honeypot when you said that it was going to be repaid back?
I wanted everything to be paid back to everybody. That was something I came to the team. I said, we need to have a plan. Even though there was, things that happened during the migration that forced the contract to be closed so that more hackers couldn't take advantage of the pot. It was, well, we need to now do something so that we can figure out, hey, what's wrong with the pot? Hey, we need to figure this out and make it right for the community.
So clearly you were met with resistance. Can you say how far up the chain the resistance came?
That was the day that I got emotional. I was, and you know what? If I speak to what happened internally, I could be really walking on eggshells, guys, with my NDAs. You think I want to? All these lawsuits are flying. I'm already in a lawsuit now where here I am as an outsider trying to help out my own investment where I just got crushed on it. My fiance I drug into this. Here it is plummeting, okay? And then I'm getting drug into this. My fiance's like, well, she asks me all the time, what's happened to my SafeMoon? I said, you know what? I've done everything I could. And now I'm being named on a lawsuit where it's like 50 to 100,000. Oh, you were paid to promote it. I didn't even know the team. I didn't even know the team. That's flat on its face. But just to represent yourself and just to say, no, look, here are my wallet addresses. This is when I purchased. Look, you can see on Twitter, there's even people at SafeMoon that will that will agree that they never even knew who I was until after I made a few videos. So all of this I'm getting drug into as a consummate professional who actually builds tech and actually delivers products. And people are, oh, well, you didn't build anything. Really? I didn't build anything? Then how did that whole development team get started? How did the whole development team get built? How did the products start shipping? And why is it after I left, no products are being shipped?
What products?
I think the
Hey,
critique.
Ryan,
Look.
I have a
One
question.
one sec. I just want to add this real quick. I think the critique is this: you're fine to talk about how many great things you did, and that apparently doesn't violate your NDA somehow. But all of a sudden, when it comes to talking about the thing that everyone cares about, the internal going back and forth between John Caroni, which could be a big proving of like whether there was fraud or whether there's intentionality or not. With that fraud, you all of a sudden you clam up and you can't talk. But you
No,
talk
it's not me
about yourself.
cramming up.
I remember one of your
Coffeezilla,
posts
it's not me
about
cramming
like
up at all.
I'm a man of ethics. I'm a man of all this stuff. Well, ethics means standing up for what's right, even when it's not monetarily viable, right? Even when it's not a great idea to do it.
Okay,
it means, hey,
so here,
here's the facts.
Coffeezilla, here, I'll say this then. If this is the case, you want to talk about ethics? When I was met with resistance, I was harassed by the VP about when are you going to be in the office? When are you going to do it? No, I don't want you talking about it. Blah, 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 blah. That's what happened to me. And then my job got threatened. I got put on the line, and guess what? Within a few days later, I quit. Okay? That's what happened.
How is it? I'm just curious though. How is it that you had an NDA, but Thomas, who left
Because
later too,
the formation of the company, because they just, when you start a startup, a lot of those NDAs and everything, they aren't adhered to. There is no NDAs. Like when they throw stuff out, like for example, when you start a new startup, you're not throwing NDAs to your developers. Typically they're friends. You're bringing them in. You're just building stuff, and that's it. Look, this has been weighing on me, and you know what? At this point, fuck it. Like I'm really sick of this shit because I got brought into something
Fuck it, man. That's the attitude you need. Fuck it.
And you know what? The other thing, I asked for legal representation, and John told me to kick rocks.
Let it out, baby.
Wow, whoa, wait, he didn't fund you? He didn't fund you?
No, why am I being pulled into this? Why am I being pulled into this? This is not my fight. I have never had private I don't know what you're doing with private keys. I don't know what you're doing. I came in, I'm delivering products for you.
But you're a developer.
Ryan, good boy. You keep delivering products.
Well, he's not a
later.
developer.
And then guess what? I deliver products, they disappear. I deliver products, they disappear. And then, oh, hey, we're working on this, we're working on that. Great, that's cool. I'm working on the app. Great, that's cool. What I'm working on, I can show performance for. I can show results. And then I get.
But all we got was a forked wallet.
Hold on.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Hold on.
I don't know how everyone got muted, but I'll unmute everyone. But yeah, just let him finish.
Where's SafeMoon
Connect? Skyvix in force hands.
Shut up.
So then
where's SafeMoon Connect at? And what was it? That's your product. That's literally from you.
My product, yeah.
Yeah, and Malta's had his hand up for like 20 minutes, man.
SafeMoon Connect was my product. It was acquired from me. We were very public about that. A lot of this is public knowledge. A lot of this is, if you're connecting the dots, a lot of this is public. But you know what? It comes to a point where, why am I being drugged in a lawsuit? And when I ask, hey, like, this is not fair. I've pushed products. I've delivered for you. Am I going to be represented in any way? Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, we'll get back to you on that. What are you talking about? This is not my fight. I came in as an employee. You paid me every month on a salary. Why am I being drugged into this? I had no access to private keys. I never did anything of that sort. So why am I even being drugged into this? And
well,
so
there was a tweet, the load up tweet that you put out. That was an interesting tweet by you. And then the SafeMoon Connect used to, like, what is that? What was supposed to be the functionality behind it?
My hand is up. I have a question. Whenever.
Malta's was up too.
It was
a
technology. It was a product. It was a product built by me and acquired by SafeMoon. And in my personal opinion, it was pretty close to being done. So if they don't launch products, I don't know what to say. I'm not there anymore. I don't work anymore. I launched them. I launched products. I let people be transparent. I let them bug test. They got in on it. They would submit tickets. We would get on it. I mean, look no further than, the actual results. And so, yeah, I left. Of course I'm going to leave, especially if I'm going to get,
why do you suppose
especially,
if you left almost a finished product, why do you suppose they never
You're in the
Okay,
blockchain.
he's in the blockchain. Go ahead, Maroni.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him, the Hound, if you can hear me. Do you ever see at any given moment 90 employees plus at the building?
No. How many people were there?
Thank you.
Handful, maybe. But I
Well,
think
true
a part of that,
true or false, the
was
reason you
also,
quit. Wait, true or false, the reason you quit was because the money was not being refunded back to investors.
I mean, that was the biggest reason, yeah. I mean, there was other reasons. One of the other reasons was, hey, go kick rocks. We're not helping to represent you at all. That was another reason. And then also other things that happened internally that I didn't agree with as far as integrity goes. And nothing huge, nothing that you guys would be like, whoa, that's groundbreaking, nothing like that. But again, it was a vacuum. Like John's very secretive, and that's one thing you'll learn. I mean, he's a very secretive person, and so, if you go in his office, or you go talk to him, whatever it is, he's very secretive. So if there is things like people are talking about Bitmart liquidity pool, I don't know. When I first came in, I did try to get all the revenue channels and see where all the revenue was coming from, because obviously as a global head of products, you want to see where the revenues are coming from, so that way you can build revenue models around that. Well, if I get locked out and it's like, oh, Ryan, nope, we'll take it from here. You're good. You don't need to. Like, okay, then I won't work on the revenue model. Then I'll just work on product delivery.
Hey
And
guys,
verify all of this.
if anyone doesn't have an immediate question, if you could just pop down, we can get some more people up, and then just put your hand up right away.
I go down,
and we'll
Sky.
cycle.
I come back later.
Okay, I'll cycle everyone back up. It's just we had like 4 people waiting for a while. So.
Going back to and Ryan, tap into this if you want to. And also, guys, like when I say it was compartmentalized, I fucking meant it. Even in HR and stuff like that, like I meant it. And my consensus of everything is that people were brought in to play into a scam of pump so that people could take money after pump. And there's innocent people that were truly taken advantage of in this circumstance. Why were products not delivered? Because products possibly were never meant to be fully delivered, but that doesn't mean that the devs or the project managers knew that. And it's like once the money is taken, the pump has already happened. That's just my 2 cents. That's my personal opinion on it.
Go ahead, Crypto Control.
Hey, I was just wondering, is Coffee's question for Fudhound that if he knew something about what has happened with John and the fraud, that he should come out and tell it? Is that what your question was for him?
Yeah, but I think what the Fudhound is basically saying, or Ryan is saying, is that he didn't have access to a lot of that stuff, that he came in as global head of products. He couldn't figure out where the revenue streams are coming from. He now is admitting that he did quit primarily because people were not going to get refunded, as well as some other issues. I mean, I guess my thing is it does seem like you just didn't have a lot of information, Ryan, if what you're saying to us is true. I mean, obviously, I don't know. But I do think it's important that you come out, and if you do have any information or any internal documents that reveal wrongdoing, I mean, now is the time to kind of bring them out there.
100%. And you know what? I saved a lot of records on myself just to cover my own ass. I screenshotted a lot of stuff on Slack just to save my own ass.
What kind of stuff?
Just things that would show that I'm not just pulling this story out of my butt, and things that show that there's a trail, a record of me trying to do the right thing, always trying to do the right thing. And yes, I am a man of integrity. I've always tried to do that. I've always tried to do the right thing. And obviously, if I'm going to push out a product and I say, hey, here's the deadline here, we're going to try to push this out, we're going to go after it, I'm going to work my tail off to get that mission done. And if someone else is saying, on the back end or leadership or whatever, saying, trying to get my way or do things like that, then what happens to the influence I have on the company? I have no influence. And at that point, towards the end of my time there, I had no influence. I was trying to do things by the book. Hey, this is how we need to track this. This is what we should do. This is how we need to get developers in. You know, I came in to do a job as a professional, and I would hope that people would see, at least from the results that I produced from the small time that I was there, that I did my job. But at the end of the day, when it comes to coffee, when it comes to, you know, integrity and that kind of thing, it's like, yeah, there's also a fine line of, you know, you just even mentioned it earlier, John's, you know, now suing his mom, you know? So that's like a whole nother thing that, okay, well, we're gonna, you know, I don't like what Ryan said, and, you know, we'll go ahead. Now, if that were to happen, I'll tell you this, I have a lot of records I can come out with internally that I've saved and covered my butt, and I've always done things by the book and always did things right. And, you know, I think my frustration about this whole thing is that, A, getting attacked by these people that follow SafeMoon, when it's like, why are you attacking me? The product you're using right now was built because of me and my team. Why are you attacking me when I was out here always trying to look for the betterment of the you know, of the community? Why are you attacking me when I essentially brought up in a community, you know, a space, saying that I had every intention to make sure that everybody gets paid back on that V1, and then I get reprimanded the next day? It's like, how are these people getting mad at me for trying to look after them?
Well,
So,
yeah,
that's
it's
that's
insane.
part of
But
my question.
did you get
So
reprimanded by Joshua
you
Chilcutt?
said you said towards the end
Venom
of
had
your
his hand
time.
up.
Towards the end of your time at SafeMoon, you had literally no influence. Yeah, you said that yourself. So why
virtually
would you
when?
then?
Wait, when? No. Towards the end, yes. Towards
Yeah,
the
towards the end.
end, my influence in.
So towards the end, you had no influence. Yet you went on a space and you guaranteed holders from the V1 honeypot were going to get their money back. Why do you think people will not be pissed at you for that?
I think people would be pissed at me for that because they don't know the whole story. I can't just say, look, I'm global head of products. Sure, I have a lot of decision-making power, but if someone above me says, no, we're not doing that, there's nothing else they can do.
But if you had no influence, why would you say that?
Because that was the internal conversation. That was the whole point. We were trying to work for that. We were trying to work towards that.
But can you understand why people would be pissed if they thought they were getting their money back from the honeypot and they're still waiting?
Yeah, of course they would be mad. But
yeah,
but obviously I'm going on record trying to say that I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to. So it's misdirected is what I'm trying to say. And that's the problem here, is that people aren't really, they're just kind of going, but it's Twitter. I get it. It's Twitter. Okay, well, this, you said that and this. It's at the end of the day, my frustration is I'm drug into this. I have been very clear about me not really knowing, and I'm sure Carly can attest to this, things were very compartmentalized. So if there are claims about like what Coffezilla has uncovered and what other people have uncovered, if there are claims about this, well, it's possible. I mean, I'm not going to say anything about it if I don't have all the information. All I can do is speak on behalf of myself.
Well, can you speak in behalf of like the weight of the evidence, right? Like obviously, okay, you might not be 100% sure, but if you could kind of weigh it all out in your mind real quick and tell us, knowing what you know now, given your experience with the company, knowing what you know of John, do you think SafeMoon defrauded investors, yes or no?
I don't know, but I think it's concerning. I
Look,
think what you have
I'm
uncovered is concerning, and I've looked at it and I've talked to several people, and I've talked to several people in confidence, and I said, I'm not going to say anything because I don't know what's going on. I don't have the facts. This is a constant suit that's going through. But if this is true, I'm very concerned. And I want to distance myself very far from that because that is not who I am as a professional. And
Coffezilla, I'm sorry, I'm going to chime in here really quick. Coffezilla, also, I think that it's very important for everybody that's in this space. While you guys are asking questions, you also have to consider that not everybody has the freedom to just answer questions. Personal security is really important. And the crypto space is dark and fucking wild. And so you have to be careful about what you say. Maybe because you don't want to. Yeah, I know, Matt, you want to hear all the dirt, but maybe not because you don't want to tell what you know, but because things like your child's life has been threatened and you had to have cops sit outside of your house, or because you have people that have intense amounts of money and strong legal teams. And so it's a very hard position to want to be integral, but also want to survive a really fucking dark space. Not everybody is as ballsy as you, Coffezilla. They're really not.
I'm
And
sure
that
that
has to be
he,
considered.
but I'm sure that he understands. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but like just us, and I don't have a following like he does, but I've had threats, so I can understand.
I mean,
Like,
I
I
have
think,
you sending me thumbs down emojis right now, and that's really great that you're not sitting in the position that people like Ryan and myself, and even Coffezilla and Sky and Vix and all, you know, and Amy and stuff like that. Like, it's a real fucking concern, is personal safety. And so that
You're
has to
absolutely
be
right.
considered.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, all I can do is ask the question because I don't know everyone's personal, you know,
Right.
circumstance, right? So I just
And I
ask the
respect
question,
that.
and you can answer or not. The thing is, I will tell you, my experience is these people hide behind enough people ducking their head, right? That's how they get away with this stuff. I've seen it time and time again. And this isn't to kind of put the fire under anyone who you know, is worried about something, because obviously there are real concerns out there. But at the same time, the threat of lawsuits, the threat of everything imaginable is how scam artists get away with what they do, because
Okay, but
people
it's
are
not just
afraid of people
threats,
bullying them.
Coffeezilla. It's not just threats.
I'm very
Okay,
aware.
it's not just
I
threats.
cannot tell you how much I'm aware, but
Yes.
I'm just telling you that what this is, the more people stand up, actually, the safer it is within a herd, right?
And
so if like
I
one
understand
person
that.
stands up, it's easy to silence them. If 1,000 people stand up, you can't silence them.
And I absolutely agree with you, but there's also ways to go about doing what you do, not on a public platform for people's entertainment.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, this is
And
not
so,
just entertainment. This is very important. This is
well, this is
investment
a
money.
really,
This is
It's
affecting
not
like
entertainment. He's spreading information. I don't
this is
see
a
how it's
very
yeah. This is
important
not
conversation,
Yo,
entertainment.
Sky,
but there
bring
is
up
a
Mickey.
but
Mickey's
there
trying to
is a
come up.
line that is drawn. You know what I mean? There's a line that is drawn, and it's unfortunate because it's very unfortunate, and it's hard not to cross that line. But it's
So are you
there,
unhappy
and it
that he made
has
his
to be
videos,
there for
Carly?
personal security.
No, I understand her point. Her point makes sense. I get it. I have a opinion as well about it, but I think it's best we move on because I understand what she's saying. It's fair enough.
okay, let's
Well, we
get
have
to
hands.
some of these hands so I can cycle some more people on
Yeah,
stage.
Mickey's trying to come up, Sky.
I think that, yeah, I get it, but there's, unless someone wants to jump down, I gotta get to these hands and then I can get them up here.
Does Thomas want to come up as well? Does Papa want to come up?
He hasn't requested. So I think
all right, guys. Well,
D5
I'm gonna drop off. Hey, Coffeezilla, I've seen your videos. I respect your work.
Right.
You know, and I respect that everybody's trying to
Ryan,
do the
please.
right thing and try to get to the bottom of you know, if something, you know, is going on that's mischievous or, you know, off the rails. I agree with that. And, you know, like Carly said, you know, there's certain things like for a long time you have to realize. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the documentary. It was about Theranos, like the CEO, and she had like an employee with her that was like basically the lead of the entire development, and you know, and how they use, you know, NDAs and contracts and that kind of thing to kind of, you know, silence them, and there was a lot of things that on one end, cool, you could do the right thing and stand up, and then on the other end, you have this legal body, you know, bounding you from, you know, saying things and, you know, and from coming out with anything. So, and then you get the full weight of the legal system, or you get the full weight of the firepower. So obviously there's a balance, you know, and for me, for anything I said today, a lot of it's public. I'm not bound by anything. And like I said, I've kept records. So, you know, at this point, I'm just really getting sick of the ongoing, like, oh, what was your part in this? And oh, you created scam. It's like, no, I came in as a legitimate professional that have been in the industry for 15 plus years, and I tried to build something great because I believed in the
You thought you were leaving. Just go.
and that's it. And that's all I can say. And I, you know, like I said, I hope whatever matures from this or whatever, results from this, I hope that it's all positive, and I hope that, it gets down to the truth. And that's the best I can say
Are you
about all
finished?
this.
Are you finished?
Ryan, before you go, I just have this to say, like, you're like, in terms of like figureheads and shit within our community and stuff, like, we have a lot of people who want something that's like decentralized and that like that's legit. Like, I don't see why don't you use your experience and your skills to like benefit that. Like, you have a community right here.
I
If you're
think
one
that
of the good, why not?
I think honestly the biggest thing is that what we have right now in DeFi is not even DeFi. I mean, we'd have to take a steamroller and completely destroy everything and start over. I mean, we say we're DeFi, but yet we have centralized smart contracts that on a whim, any owner can say, oh, we're going to blacklist this wallet address, or, this whales, we're going to hold this, or we're going to do that. It's like, I feel like if there is any project that I was a part of, number one, and I've learned this the hard way, and I'll tell you this, guys, I've learned this the hard way. And Coffezilla, this is something too, I think I don't know if you've ever dealt with, but when you become a figurehead for, say, a company, and you're the driver, what I mean, like, you're the one who's getting shit done, you're the one, building products, delivering products, whatever it might be. If you're out there and you're in the public face, or the public face of the company, what will happen is if something's wrong with the product, they're going to go after you. They don't really care about the CEO anymore. They don't care about even the company's Twitter anymore. They go after you, and you get blamed for everything. So when I say this, I mean, if I'm ever going to do a project, I'll do it, and I'll have 100% control over it, where I have the final say. Where instances where, hey, we need to make that right. No, I have final say. It gets done. Nobody else tells me what to do. Nobody else
So
tries
you're launching a project?
Yes. No,
This is decentralized, right?
No, I'm not launching any project anytime soon, guys. I don't know.
Cool. Let's get to DeFiable.
Oh no, I just wanted to ask Coffee if he could check his DMs whenever he gets a chance.
What the fuck?
Okay. If that's all you got, there's a bunch of people who want to come up.
Yeah, can we get someone else up here?
Okay, Cold Deep is next.
Thank you so much. Before the Hound leaves the room, good evening, everyone. First of all, Hound, see, it's nice that you were asked so many questions by so many people over here. Interesting people, I know. See, you were concerned about the things, the questions which are unanswered and which you are confused about. Absolutely, and you have done a marvelous job in uniting the SafeMoon community at that particular moment. A year back. So hats off to you for that matter. But right now, I would like to add some points from my own. Let's see, I've been watching the blockchain very carefully. And when we used to purchase, we used to throw in 32 BNBs at the same time. I think we have invested around more than $500,000 at that particular instance. And we still have so many BNBs in hand, just in case. And we have so far come up with this orbital shield, which is something unique over here. And we still have spare so much amount of BNBs left to come up, to produce a product like exchange or blockchain, whatever it is. So certainly it's not been rug pulled yet by anyone, by the CEO or anyone else, right? So the funds, if at all, if I've taken out from the LP, those were specifically mentioned to take out for the development of the product, for the development of the company. And if at all it is questioned that there is no one working inside the company, then how come we are having these products and the updates and so many things right around the corner, right? We have the orbital shield. It's patent pending. So it's my duty to come and speak and just remove the curiosity
What's your point?
or the
What's your
concerns
point?
you have. Thank you for letting me speak. Yeah.
Bro, right around the corner is SafeMoon's MO. It's always been right around the corner, hasn't it? I think the whole thing about, we have so much BNB, we have so much BNB, it's always been used for the development team, for the development of SafeMoon. I mean, I think you can say that to John's $5 million. I think you can say it to the millions of dollars of real estate holdings he has. Do you think that getting paid somewhere in the range of, at minimum, $7 to maybe $20 million would be a good first-time CEO's salary within the first year?
I would like to comment on that. at the all-time high, the valuation of the company was around $5.5 billion. And if I am the CEO of the company, if I'm the founder of a company, or I have.
Guys, sorry, I muted. I'm seeing a lot of people throw thumbs down, and I don't think anyone wants to listen to this idea. Throw a thumbs up if you do want to listen to him.
That's fucked up, Amy.
Yeah,
I
can't be
think
talking
again,
Copy,
Mel
the
is like
SafeMoon
trying to
maxis
be
are starting to come
mainstream
up,
for
so
this
you're gonna get your
interaction,
wish.
so I say carry forward with it.
Yeah,
No,
just let it
let
happen.
SafeMoon Sam go. I want to hear what SafeMoon Sam has to
Bro,
say.
SafeMoon Sam's still here. Yes, dude, bring him up.
Yeah, he is.
Where's SafeMoon Sam? Is he still believing?
What up, baby? So, I just want to say a couple things. Appreciate hearing from Carly and the Fudhound, and trust me, guys, when people like Coffee and the rest of the Fudders say, but why don't more SafeMoon employees expose themselves to the internet? Well, these are reasons why, because you're literally getting doxxed, you're getting trolled, you're getting people threatening your lives, and this has historically been a thing, right? The space is a dark space, right? Anyway, let's move on to something that I really want to briefly talk about. We're talking about integrity and talking about the truth, and then simultaneously we're talking about a lot of speculation and allegations, right? And let's just get those things clear and set where they are. So I just want to say I love researching all this stuff. I spent months and months investigating all of Coffee's allegations with a team of 3 to 4 people volunteering, unpaid. None of us make money off views, I don't sell you anything. I don't make money off of anything. I have zero incentive. I'm not paid by anybody. So we spent time investigating.
You got that bag. You got that SafeMoon bag.
Sure, yeah, I do. Yeah, that could be said as an incentive. Sure, but I don't care about losing that. I make money I can make money any day. When I invest in something, Coffee, let's get this clear. When you join an investment, whether it's a stock or whatever it is, when I invest in something, I fully understand this is a risky endeavor. And when I do that, I set aside money that I'm willing to lose. Meaning, I'm not going to sit here and freak out if the price goes down 20%. Anyway, so my point is,
freak out if you get defrauded?
Wait, let me finish. I know you love cutting me off. Let me finish. I'll let you talk. So I love how you talk to the ginger, right? Talk to the ginger and took his video, who is a whistleblower who doesn't like John. And he said that people were impersonating core team members and passing along fake information. And you took that, and SafeMoon figured that out, and they were going after these people. And these people were deleting their Discord messages, and you took that, and you said SafeMoon was deleting evidence to hide from an FBI and a lawsuit. I talked to the guy you got the video from. It was a bunch of bullshit. You flipped the script on what that meant 180%, and that's bullshit when you're trying to tell people the truth. When you're making speculation and making people nervous about their investment, I think you have a duty to tell the truth and not to make fucking assumptions or to take a story you know the truth on. I asked him, did Coffee know the full story? He said, yeah. I gave him the full video, which has the full context, and I told him the story. He knowingly changed this, and I'm not responsible for the things that he did to the video and to the information I gave him. And the same thing with Papa. You had a 2-hour-long conversation with Papa. That video remains unlisted on your YouTube channel, and you take information out of it specifically to make it fit your narrative. Now, I'm not saying you are right or I'm not saying you're wrong. I am saying the practices that you do embellish your story and sell your narrative, and that's not a right thing to do when you're making people nervous. That's all.
Is Papa still down there? Papa, get the fuck up here. Papa's still down there? Get up.
Okay, so real quick, we've already discussed this in the last 2 debates we've had, or I think I talked to you both times. Maybe just one debate. I've already addressed this, but real quick, let me cover it. No, I didn't take anything out of context. Also, this hilarious thing about Papa, when you're talking about Papa, I literally put the full interview online. The only reason you know that full interview exists is because I literally uploaded it to my channel, linked it at the top of the fold in the video. And so I don't know why you're saying like you're implying
how many views does it have, Coffee?
So
how many views? 200?
Why does that fucking matter? Why does that matter?
No, real quick, because he's saying like I'm like hiding this evidence or something like that. Just to be clear, people don't want to watch a 2-hour call. They want to watch the full, they want to watch like the version that makes sense, right? The version that's like digestible. But if you want to go through the whole 2-hour call to make sure to fact check me, you can go ahead and do that. So I noticed you didn't say anything in the 2-hour Papa call that I actually got out of context. And I also noticed you don't seem to be taking issue with the evidence that I'm talking about, right? Of John Caroni, how he got these $5 million, these $2.5 million houses, these other $1 million houses, right? Where is your outrage about that? I don't understand. You're outraged that I put an unlisted video on my channel voluntarily and linked to it in the top of the fold so that everyone could go to it and fact check it. But you're not mad when John Caroni doesn't respond every single time his project is accused of these horrible things, right? He's had every single opportunity to respond and debunk all these accusations, and yet he's nowhere to be found. His family doesn't even like him. He's suing his own family, and yet you like him more than his own mother does. I'm just confused where this love, since you're so unbiased, you have no incentive except for all the SafeMoon you hold, where your outrage is.
Yeah, sure. I'll say that I'm a reasonable, logical person, and what you have is evidence of. Can I finish? Are you going to interrupt me? I let you talk.
Give a thumbs up. Give a thumbs up if you think. Give a thumbs.
Hold up, okay? Okay, SafeMoon Sam, you speak very rudely to people, so that's not going to get you very far. I want to let you to continue to talk, even though the last time you talked to Coffezilla, it was like 4 hours of nothing. But we'll let you get to the bottom of your point here, and then there's hands up. So carry on.
Sure, I'd love to. And I'll start by saying this. 365, last time I had a coffee debate, and coffee for the record, I only debated you once because I'm a busy person. I'm sure you are too. But for the record, we only debated once. We didn't talk about that. And 365, the people who love to fudge.
Calm down.
This is my tone of voice. I'm Arab. We are very passionate people. Let me just talk. God damn. So
passionate and logical.
There was a poll from 365.
Sorry, guys. I was in a meeting. I hope
Oh,
everything.
God, that must have been an accident.
No, that was.
Just let him finish. Let's hear this.
No,
that was me. I
don't know who's doing it.
Me, I'm doing it. Stop with the
Amy?
fucking sound.
It's probably
Guys,
glitched.
Vex, I don't think Sky
Can
can
you tell
hear
Brain
you.
to shut the fuck up?
Everyone,
Just let him finish, bro.
I don't think Vex and Sky can hear each other. Sky, can you hear Vix?
No, I can't hear Vix at all.
Worst 365 I've ever been in.
Okay, Vix, shut up, Mickey. Vix, I'll be like right back. I'll just close it and open it again.
I think Vince just needs to close the
hands.
space
People have their
and
hands
open
the
his
whole
app
time.
again.
Yo, Sam, you also gotta realize Coffee's an entertainer. Like, he's
Nah,
doing
there's a difference between making entertainment and making speculation and making people sell at the bottom of the market based on that speculation, and then using that
my guy
to strong arm people with facts that you twist.
YouTube,
that's
not
entertainment.
People with facts.
Sam, the evidence, bro. So Sam. So evidence, or like how you feel about his videos and the tone that he delivered it in aside, he has presented factual information about where money has gone and where money has moved to. How do you refute that without the emotion, without the, oh, he said it in a certain way and he talked to the wrong person? He's literally said that in 3 months, John Caroni has made $5 million. He was fucking living in a trailer park before. He admits it. He literally posted it on Instagram. He was living in a trailer or whatever. And suddenly he has $5 million to throw. Where did the money come from? Was he getting paid $1 million a month? Where did it come from?
Yeah, I'd love to answer that. And for information, guys, I don't get emotional, right? I'm literally just, I'm choosing to do this because there's a lot of people talking.
Bro, just answer the question.
Yeah, I would
answer the question.
Yeah, I will. John was making how much as a deputy at his government job? 6 figures? How much was that trailer worth, actually? You guys call it like a trailer park
Bro,
thing.
it's nothing to do
How much
with the
was that actually
$5
worth?
million he called.
Yeah, it's an RV, my bad. It's an RV.
Fudhound just said he put into the project. How much did Fudhound and his girlfriend put into the project? How much do you think John could have put into the project early on?
John didn't put shit into the
So
project.
did he put that 30? So the Fudhound, right? So the Fudhound, did he put that 30 grand into the project, or did he put it into John Caroni's wallet?
See, these aren't constructive conversations. A constructive conversation is that you guys think you have evidence of money moving, and I looked at it. Where's the LP withdrawal? Okay.
Dude, oh my God, this guy is dumber than
This is
Rob.
going
Why?
Okay, why don't we let Coffee? Why don't we let Coffee reiterate? Why don't we let Coffee reiterate? He's got all the evidence. Coffee, can you please explain to us your case?
Done here,
Why
boys.
don't you get a better
almost done.
mic brain? How about that?
We got
I'm almost done,
TNG
boys.
too.
So when you're developing an exchange, what do you need? Liquidity, right? Right? When you're developing an exchange, you need liquidity, right?
Didn't they steal?
When liquidity is
No,
sent to you,
no.
what is it? What is liquidity? Is liquidity a single token or is liquidity a pair?
Sam, do you want us to respond, or you like keep saying like don't
Go
respond
ahead.
until I'm finished talking? Can I respond?
Sure thing, bud.
Yeah. So the liquidity, no matter what you say about like, oh, it's meant for development or whatever, you have the simple situation of SafeMoon said there was no way for the developers to make money until 4 years after the project because the LP was locked auto-magically, right? That was their words, not mine. That's what they said. So no matter what they want to say about like development, that was just their promise to investors to take them safely to the moon. Obviously, we all know that's a lie. Nobody even tries to debate that anymore. Everyone knows that that was a big farce, right? So we know they stole money. Now the only question is, well, did they steal money for themselves or did they steal money for this quote, quote, development? Okay, so you have a $5 million investment from John Caroni into this quote, quote, Dark Moon Area 32 thing. We now know from John Caroni's mother, who I don't think she would have any reason to lie, said that John Caroni put his own personal wealth into that. So when you say, oh, they're spending millions of dollars to invest, you mean John Caroni is spending $5 million that he took from SafeMoon to put it into his own name, which the SafeMoon army would have no claim to. That's what you actually mean, whether you realize it or not. So where did that money come from, if not the LP, when we all agree and know that they had no other way to make money?
That's wrong. Again, remember your 2-hour-long video with Papa? What is an AMA? Please tell me, because in your
So
2-hour-long
Sam,
video,
Sam,
you said
Sam,
100
answer the
times that you don't
question.
understand. If
Answer
you
the
actually
That's
take the time
not,
to
yeah,
Google
that's
it,
not,
you
okay,
can
Sam,
see.
answer the
And by the way,
question.
crypto
All right,
control
Stop
has
I'll
been
take
locked
this.
up
I
for
can't
like
even get
an
my
hour.
message. Everyone, 5 people can jump on me, but I
Sam
can't
is very
even
logical.
talk. It's
Sam,
cool.
Yeah.
even
We don't want to
Sam,
talk about how an
Tony
exchange
Indigenous.
needs liquidity. I get it. I get it. We don't want to talk about how.
Sam, you can't just come into a space and shout at people and expect to not answer their questions when they put something back at you. You've asked Coffee a question, Coffee's answered, now Coffee's asking you a question. Where did John get the money? Answer Coffee's question or get the fuck out.
Yeah, can you actually refer to my prior statement of how much money was he earning as a government employee? Did he invest into the own thing that he was working on potentially? Why are these not?
I'm sorry. I launched him. Crypto Control has a question. Go ahead, Crypto Control. He can come
Now we're
back up, but he
launching
needs to
people.
settle down.
Wow.
Well,
Nah, that's not cool, Sky.
No, he can come back up, but he needs to settle down because he's not even answering anything and he's deflecting everything.
Worst 365 ever.
Mickey, I'm gonna launch your ass too if you don't stop. It's not 365.
No, but according to him, everybody else is wrong. According to him, everybody else is
Whatever
wrong.
happened to that
He's being
365
asked
guy?
a simple question.
Did 365?
What happened? Okay.
Whatever happened to the 365 guy? Did he leave like all the other SafeMoon influencers?
What 365 guy?
365 guy.
Oh, the guy Dark Moon. What? No, or like the SafeMoon After Dark, Chris Harris.
Oh,
he's still around.
365. He's a whole other animal.
Coffee, quick rundown. 365 is the quote unquote fodder space. This is where everybody who doesn't like SafeMoon comes to talk about it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I meant the Chris Harris guy.
But according
to
to Sky,
Joe is now
365,
Squid Grow Joe, which I think is funny.
He's still around. He's just launching a shitcoin, so he's been really like nice lately.
He's your next
No, Chris Harris launching a shitcoin? No way.
Yeah.
Hang on. Just to make a quick.
Are you really surprised?
To that fucking chub who was speculating that John used, his alleged six-figure salary that he's just pulled out his own arsehole. We know that the original SafeMoon US LLC was registered to this dumpy little house, which is literally in the middle of a fucking ghetto. So, he's on, 6 figures? That's anything between $100,000 to $999,000 per year. And he's living in an absolute fucking ghetto suburb. I don't think so. What a fucking stupid excuse from a fucking maggot of a person.
Well, and even if John put like $100,000 into SafeMoon, it still doesn't justify all of the money that has been moved out of the liquidity pool.
But even if Sam was correct, even if he had some logical explanation, John was like the most highly paid army man like in history. He was making $999,000 a month or a
Jim,
year,
do you have
excuse
a
me,
response to that?
he still would not be able to make
To
$5 million in
back
3
up
months.
the concept of other investments. I mean, why wouldn't the lifestyle represent wealth from other investments if that's where he pulls personal, money for the investment from? Is he still on speaker?
No.
No, I launched him. He can come back up. I just wanted him to calm down because he's not letting anyone else talk. Crypto Control has his hand up.
Hey, I just wanted to make a couple points really fast. And one is that Fudhound is gone, but he was saying, why are people attacking me whenever I was here for the community and I was doing everything for you? And we all know that everybody loved Thomas. Everybody loved Ryan. Everybody loved me. But as soon as you are not part of the dream of everybody being rich, you become the enemy and logic goes out the window. And it's directly related to what Sam is talking about, that he says that he's logical, but then he starts throwing out random theories that maybe John made enough money while we're looking at blockchain evidence, watching millions of dollars of Tether go from the Bitmart account to his Kraken account, connected to all his wallets that Coffee and his team found. The last thing I wanted to say was to Coffee, and it was kind of that everybody that I've talked to, because I've reached out to as many people as I can, and everything that you guys found, it's like the worst FUD of SafeMoon came down to John Caroni, and the worst fudder of SafeMoon is John Caroni. But when it comes to the Bitmart deal, everybody working around him, it's like not many people know, like maybe a couple people around John actually know the agreement between the Bitmart deal. Otherwise, it seems like even as close as people don't have those details. So they're not able to become whistleblowers because they don't know exactly where he got that money from. And that's where the fraud occurred.
Can I give an opinion on this? Coffezilla got it completely wrong in his first video. There was no Bitmart LP agreement, or at least not to the degree that they think. All the tokens which were removed to liquidity were sent to a Bitmart deposit address, which also received tokens from the Gabe wallet. John told Thomas to remove tokens from liquidity, send them to John's Bitmart account, and then sold them. We know this because John also sent SafeMoon tokens from the Gabe wallet and presumably sold them. So Thomas told Coffee that there's some deal. There's probably no evidence that that actually happened. More likely, John just sold the tokens, and Thomas didn't know any better, so Thomas told Coffee that, and then that's how the story spread. And I've said that for like 6 months. No one listens, but that's my opinion.
Because you sound like Miss Doubtfire, motherfucker.
It's definitely possible, Amy. That's definitely possible that that's true. I'll say I have emailed the Bitmart team, and they don't seem to be denying that there was an agreement in place, some kind of agreement. So the exact specifics of it, you're right. We don't know. We don't know if John didn't just sell it. I agree that he might have just sold it, and that way he can just hide the big sell from the decentralized exchanges. But I do want to just say, like, there is evidence that there was some kind of real deal out there.
Yeah, I had heard about that deal, like, through Ginger hearing about it, like, in June or something, like, long before it ever just surfaced. So I think there is some truth to it.
What about the money that was hacked on Bitmart in the agreement that John made with Bitmart?
Yeah, that one's really weird to me because it's like Bitmart got all their tokens back. Where did the money go to exchange for those tokens?
Wasn't it like 60-something million or something like that was stolen?
I can't remember the exact amount, but it was a fuck ton.
All I know is when I talked to Papa, he kept telling me that, like, he would be calculating one thing, like they should have this amount of money, and then John would always come back and they didn't have the amount of money that he said that, like, he calculated they should have. So I get the impression that, like, Papa always thought maybe he was, like, bad at math with that stuff, but in all likelihood he wasn't bad at math and John was just selling or doing something like that, doing something shady behind the scenes. That's like a fun, like, behind the scenes, anecdote for what was actually happening with Bitmart. We still don't know, though, because they haven't told us.
Yeah, and you have to actually believe Thomas, too, to believe the things he says. And he has lied in the past as well, so I'm not saying everything he says is a lie, but also he's on the side of something trying to cover his own ass as well.
For sure. Definitely true. Does anybody have any more questions? I've got some work to do, but I want to take I try to make myself available for the community anytime that I do a story. So if anyone has any more comments, questions, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, there
kind
are
of
a couple people trying to get on stage, so everyone who wants to talk, throw your hands up, and then I'll let them up before Coffee takes
yeah.
off.
I'm going to dip in a second. I just had one thing to say. Probably very rare from me to give defense of somebody who worked in SafeMoon, but I think when Ryan was being attacked by was it Sam who was saying, why did you promise, or Venom, I don't know who said, why did you promise to refund the V1 100% holders? I think that Ryan said that by default, because by default it's the decent thing to do, it's the moral thing to do, and then obviously John thought differently. But I think that Ryan probably thought, well, of course we'll refund the people who accidentally got all of their money taken off them.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, definitely. Anybody else have any thoughts, questions about the video? Crypto Control, do you have anything?
Yeah, actually, I did have one question, and I think I already know the answer, but I figure it's worth asking. For me, I personally don't want to lead somebody on to buy or sell, because if something happens to take off, then I don't want to be the person that talked them out of it. Do you feel is your position that this is most likely going to zero, and that the best thing people can do now, because some people have a lot still invested in it, is to take out their position right now?
I also try to avoid any hardcore lines in that. I mean, it's hard for me to not say too much, because I really do believe so strongly that this thing is going to zero, and that it was all built on a fraud. So there's only so much I feel like the moral thing to do is actually equip people with that information, and then if they decided to sell it, that's up to them. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. People got screwed over by this terrible investment, and now they're stuck holding the bag. Yeah, it's a dicey situation, but in my opinion, unless you believe in the leadership for some reason, and I just don't think there's any evidence for that, I don't think this is going anywhere but down. And that's just my opinion. I think you just have to, educate yourself as an investor. Anybody else? Irish Racer?
Thanks, thanks, Coffee. I just want to say, first of all, congratulations and well done on a fantastic piece of journalism in our modern times. You've done very well with all videos, in fact, and I was a maxi, and as time has went by, I have learned my lesson, but your videos right from the start hurt me so deeply. And that's a great education, and you did well, and it's good journalism, and well done, and you deserve to be commended for that, and it is fantastic, and so well done. My question for you, Coffee, is just simply, do you believe without regulation in the DeFi sphere and in general, like for the crypto market, this is a huge story, but do you feel there will be legal what can you say? Will justice be served to John Caroni, in your opinion? Thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm always hopeful. I'm hopeful and often disappointed is my answer in all of these kinds of stories. I try never to get too, cynical about things. So I always kind of, do my best to keep my chin up about that, like the actual outcome of these stories. But truthfully, you're right. It is an unregulated space. There's a chance he gets away with all of it. And, that just is what it is. All I can do is try to let people know so more people don't get hurt. Hope that answers your question. Can we go to me? Hi. And then can we get some more people up here too? Because I want to answer these questions as fast as
Yeah,
possible.
there's just one person waiting.
I think ENS also had a question. SafeMoon ENS.
Yeah,
I
hi.
just wanted to know who the
thank you.
fuck launched me.
That was probably Amy after you called her Mrs. Doubtfire.
What?
Hi, thank you for letting me up. Yeah, first of all, I want to bring my appreciation to what Coffezilla is doing. Absolutely fantastic. Please do not give up. I don't know what motivates you, man, but honestly, you are my favorite.
Did he get booted?
Did he get booted? He might have gotten booted. I don't know what
Did
happened
he?
to him. Do we have anything else? Do we have any questions?
Yeah, there's
We
a
have
couple of guys coming up right now.
SafeMoon
but I think
maxis who want to talk to me. I always like
Bring
talking.
Sam back up.
SafeMoon Al, welcome. What would you like to say?
He's a regular here.
What's going on, Coffee? How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it
He's
going?
John's BFF.
Yeah. Well, me and John's mom are
You
about
hear
to
me?
be
My
BFFs.
phone's
We're going to
breaking
be
a little
work
bit.
together.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're good, man.
You guys hear me?
You're good, Al.
Nah, I just want
Yes, you're good.
to know, Coffee, are you an investor at all into crypto? You know, is it a smart thing to do? Do you own any crypto? If you do, what are the names of it?
I think you should not be taking your advice from me. I don't think you should be taking your advice from anyone on twitter.com for where to put your money. I think that is a very not smart way to invest. And, I've publicly said that I hold a small amount of crypto in the top 10 market caps. I never say names because, quite frankly, nobody knows if they're going to be going up or down. Anyone who tells you they do is a liar. I wanted exposure to the market because I just wanted to kind of know what everyone's getting into. I have to know what I'm talking about, right? But other than that, I just think it's a bad way of approaching things to ask a YouTuber what they're invested in so you can potentially match them or whatever. So all the best to you, though. Anybody else?
I wasn't trying to match you, because from watching your videos, you make it seem like crypto or all crypto is a scam. So I just want to know,
It is.
are you a firm believer in crypto?
I don't know. I don't like the question again, I guess. Are you a firm believer in crypto? Yeah, I don't know. Like, do I think there's going to be some permutation of crypto eventually? Yeah, maybe. But do I what is that, right? It's kind of silly. It's like asking somebody who is going after the .com bubble and saying, you just seem like you're against the internet. And you're going, no, well, I'm more against all the scams. And if everything in the space are scams, it may appear like I'm against crypto as a whole, but that's never been my stance. Okay, next, who's up?
Anyone else? Oh, there's someone coming up. One sec.
My for when SafeMoon Sam gets back up here, so I'll wait.
I think Champion has a question.
Oh shit. I just removed him. I'll bring him back up. I thought he had already asked his question. Go ahead, Champion. Sorry.
Oh, that's
about
okay.
that.
Yeah, sorry. I got a little bit of a cold right now, so hopefully you can understand me all right. So yeah, I kind of jumped in this space, I guess, around the time the Fudhound was leaving. So most of what I've heard is just kind of rehashing the past from last spring. I haven't gotten a chance to see your new video yet, Coffee, but it seems to be related to the recent lawsuits, I assume. Is that correct? The ones concerning Emanations Communications Group? John's mother.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I do want to watch your video. I just haven't had a chance. I didn't even see that you had a new one out until I saw this space was live. But I've been looking into that as well. I'm in a group with TNG Systems. So I kind of had an idea that he was looking into that before probably most people did. So I've been looking into that. And do you understand John's perspective, the SafeMoon perspective on that one versus the ECG and LexFest perspective? Like what they say happened versus what ECG and LexFest say happened regarding the loan and lawsuits?
Yes, I'm very familiar with what John's perspective on things are.
Right. So you're familiar that his side of the story, at least his legal team and his side of the story, is that his mother actually set up a sham loan. And the purpose of that sham loan was to pretty much make sure it had bad terms and it would default within an extremely short period of time. I think the statement was about 3 weeks or less. This loan was set up by ECG with LexFest Limited. The loan defaulted, and then LexFest Limited supposedly was able to come in and seize property, seize IP, and all that sort of stuff from ECG Group. ECG, of course, being the one that Jennifer Crony set up with John Crony in June of 2021. She owned 51%. She's a majority managing partner. John owned 33%.
I'm sorry for jumping in here. What's the question? I'm here to answer questions. What's kind of the
So
question?
the question is, do you think it's possible that the loan was not properly done through a proper loan company? Do you think that the possibility that John's mom was trying to actually take property away from ECG, which was held by John? You can say she had every right to not like John, that he did bad things and he made it look bad. But do you think that LexVest Limited was a proper loan company and it provided a proper loan, and that the terms were remotely logical, that it was not a sham loan in any way, shape, or form?
I think it depends. I mean, first of all, you're saying like it's a loan company. I think I think it was just a private loan with private conditions. But I think from what they say in the lawsuit, they approached John about future financing because he was kind of the main financier up to this point. And from everything in the lawsuit, it sounds like John kept saying, no, I'm not going to invest any more money. No, I'm not going to invest any more money. At which point the company was basically floundering and they needed money. So whether you think that it was a sham loan or not is going to depend a lot on how desperate you think they were for how desperate they were for finances and how desperate they were trying to get funds anyways. But that just depends on your perspective. I mean, what I'll say is what I've said from the beginning, which is that over time, I think a lot of people have made mistakes who are in the SafeMoon like world, right? But when you look at the common denominator that seems to be running across all of these, I think it paints a really clear picture. So I'm not here to say that John's mom is completely innocent or John's dad is completely innocent. I don't know, because in fact, part of the lawsuit says that where John learned how to hide all these companies is from his parents, because John was playing dumb in the lawsuit about like how this company was structured. And his mom's like, no, we taught him how to do this. That's what he literally did with SafeMoon. So we know that some of John's tactics have come from his parents. So I'm not here to like say like they're perfect princesses or princes either. But what I am saying is that the common denominator throughout all of this has always been John Caroni, who cannot get along with others, cannot play nice, always botches deals because he could literally is like incapable of not kind of, I don't know, trying to get the better end of the deal every single time. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess. I see what you mean. I definitely agree that he probably learned about setting up these all these separate companies and how they interweave with each other from his mother, based on what I've looked up now. Like as an example, when she set up ECG, she set it up in her name, but on that very same day, she had something called Emanations Energy Group set up under a lawyer's. I believe it's an attorney named Nathan Morris. So on the very same day she set up a company with John, ECG, she had someone else set up a company.
Correct.
Nathan Morris, who was it was set up at the same address and everything. So clearly it was related to Jennifer Caroni, if you can see that.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that John is speaking in a lawsuit about. I believe John's side was that she was setting up these side companies and siphoning money out of ECG into them. Again, you could say maybe John learned that, if you believe what you do. About
and she actually says that he knew exactly what she was doing, because he does the same thing where basically there was a Emanations Communications Group operations and Emanations Communications Group, which are two different companies. One was basically like operating under, this authorization agreement. And so it's basically like loaning all the stuff. So it's very confusing, but basically the gist of it is they were using shell companies in order to protect assets. This is exactly what John does as well. And that's what she says in the lawsuit, is like, yeah, we taught him how to do this.
And I believe, from my understanding, I have to read through it again, but I believe John was saying she wasn't protecting assets so much as moving assets away from a company that he started. Like his terms supposedly were anything created or sent to within ECG should stay within ECG, but she was using these shell companies on the side to actually siphon things off away from him. And that was part of his concerns with continuing funding. And then the thing with Nathan Morris, though, the Emanations Energy Group started the same day as ECG in June of 2021. Fast forward to a year later, LexVest Limited gets formed on June 20th, 2022. 10 days later, LexVest Limited gives a loan to ECG. Within 3 weeks or less, that loan is defaulted on. So now LexVest Limited has the ability to take away all the assets and IP from ECG. I don't think John's mom is stupid. I don't think she set up a bad loan like that. But what made it really curious, though, the real strange thing to me was that also on July 20th, 22, a brand new company was formed called LexFest ECG, and it was set up by Nathan Morris, and it was set up in Utah. LexFest Limited and Lex Technica, Law Services or whatever it's called. Those are both based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. But then this LexFest ECG company gets set up on July 20th after this so-called loan is made, after it's probably around the time it's getting defaulted, by Nathan Morris in Utah, where Jennifer Crony lives. Jennifer Crony, I'm sure, set up Emanations Energy Group the year before with Nathan Morris. How is it that a year later, Nathan Morris is setting up yet another company, now called LexFest ECG, right after LexFest Limited seizes all the assets from ECG? And not only that, like, that's like, who knows, maybe they could call it whatever they want, and that's her attorney. But in the lawsuit that John brought against his mother, ECG, the ECG shell companies, against basically the LexFest attorneys, he sued someone named Sam Castor, who's the head founder of Lex Technica and the one who officially set up LexFest Limited. And he also sued Nathan Morris. But Nathan Morris and Sam Castor and the other lawyers that represented LexFest and Lex Technica are represented by the same legal team together. So for some reason, a guy that John's mother used to set up Emanations Energy Group the year before, and then a year later set up LexFest ECG. This guy is getting sued by John, and he is being represented by the exact same legal team as LexFest, as the Lex Technica people. That just seems, the interweaving there just seems so strange to me, and makes me. You can say whatever you want about John's behavior. You can say his behavior is bad and he refused to give money and all that, but you can't say that that's not kind of odd or possibly telling. Like, what does that mean? Like, even T&G Systems, the guy who did all this research originally and made the original Reddit post, I believe he probably reached out to you. After I showed him all this stuff and talked to him about this stuff, I got pictures and images when the companies are found. It sounds like you know good about that, Coffee, so that's cool. But his response to me after that was, so it does indeed look like Karoni's mom set up the company to push him out. VVVVV, interesting. Then my other friend Goto, he always said I can say whatever. He has no problem with me saying what he says. He said, it really does look that way. And then T&G Systems further said, interesting that more than one entity was set up on the first day, though. Interesting in that it's the Emanations Energy Group. But I don't know, some of that really strange web there makes me think that there's something going on.
Basically, she did something wrong. You're basically saying she did something wrong too. That Karoni's mother is corrupt.
That she is trying to take the whether she feels justified in it because she doesn't like his behavior or whatnot, or that SafeMoon has lawsuits against it and it'll make her look bad, blah blah blah, allegedly, blah blah blah. That what she has done is intentionally set up a sham loan. That this is what the lawsuit John sued his mother about.
Right, that's John's side of the story. I think her side of the story is
she's desperate for money. Yeah, but she's not stupid. I don't think she's stupid. I don't think she set up a loan with a brand new entity that was formed by a legal services company and then immediately defaulted on that loan. And it was a brand new LexFest Limited was created 10 days before the loan was made. I mean, maybe that's standard practice, but where did she find that? The connection between Nathan Morris is...
David B. Smith just texted out, looks can be deceiving. You are missing parts. That's the
I think
David B. Smith doesn't talk.
I
don't like David B. Smith not speaking. He doesn't ever say anything. He'll post a Titanic.
You let Coffee
until he's ready to come up and talk. I really don't want to hear anything from David B. Smith. I'm sorry. Like, David B. Smith says something. Don't put weird cryptic stuff. Just stop. Like, just stop. Well, I'm speaking in facts here. Like, these are when companies are set up. And dates that they were set up, and attorneys they were set up by, and legal representation they're all set up by. You can come to your conclusions by that, but what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying is things that definitely happened. You just put GIFs and memes, David Smith. Like, I get.
Okay. We're fighting against somebody who's not here right now, so let's just until he comes up, let's just hang off there.
Sure.
because he doesn't have the ability to
Sure.
respond. So
I don't. He doesn't
I'll say
want to
real
talk.
quick. I'll say
Lawson
real quick.
starts. Yeah.
I think the position of from what I understood reading both John's side of the thing, and I did understand his side of the thing, and then also I still think that there's more to that story though, because John also sued them for the house. Like it'd be one thing if he just sued them for the company, right, to unwind the loan. That's actually not what he did. He sued them for the house, the down payment too, which we can get into. But read the whole thing about LexVest and all that. I think LexVest's position on it, and I could be misreading it, but I think their position is the reason they defaulted the loan and the reason they first sued Jennifer Caroni, because the actual
Yeah.
suit starts
Yeah.
as Jennifer Caroni versus LexVest, is because they had notified John of this. John, at first, their position is that he was cool with it. Then he realized what was happening, and then he goes, okay, no, we have to unwind this loan. They're like, no, you can't unwind this loan. You haven't been part of this company. You've been refusing to fund it. He goes, no, we are going to unwind this loan, at which point they're like, okay, rather than, because he's threatening to sue everybody in the business. So they're like, all right, let's settle this in court. Let's sue it. Let's sue them. Let's default this loan. So I think that was their position. I could be wrong. I mean, you could. It's
Yeah.
very tricky because there's two sides to this story. But I think what's highly relevant here is, once again, the pattern of behavior. When you sift through all of it, what is salient and what I focused on in my show is what relates to SafeMoon, right? What's actually matters about SafeMoon? Well, we found out that there was $5 million of personal money that John Caroni had, right, according to his mother. We also found out that Ronin Real Estate Group was John's personal money, not company money, like all the SafeMoon maxis were saying, right? So I think it is relevant, of course, always, to find out both sides of the story. At the same time, when you think about in the context of SafeMoon, what did we actually learn? I don't think it really matters what Jennifer Caroni's intentions were. I think it matters what we found out to the average investor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so as far as what this relates to SafeMoon, in theory, if this was actually set up as a legitimate, intentional company to develop this technology, I know you'll laugh at it like always, but the nanotech, the windmills, the antennas, and the all that sort of stuff, like that's supposedly is the purpose of ECG. And then his mother and John got in on that together. Why did they do it as a side project? Well, I don't know. I mean, I know she had connections to Gambia, I suppose through her CIA position in the past. So she actually had the connections to the government in the Gambia, and I do believe, as far as I can tell, that is true. So her being involved would mean that this tech company ECG that did get created in June 2020. This isn't something, as far as I can tell, Jennifer Caroni's put her whole life into for years and years. It started, that company was created like 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks after, I think, an AMA first announced Operation Phoenix in Gambia and that kind of stuff. So clearly, like from the beginning, it feels like ECG was created as a means to support SafeMoon in some way or another through the Operation Phoenix, Dark Moon, all that stuff. And it's something that I believe his mother was aware of. It's not like he wasn't talking about Gambia and Dark Moon and all this, or Operation Phoenix, at least in Gambia, when that stuff got set up. But also, we've seen the court documents. Jennifer Caroni and his father, blanking at Brandon, I think, they were both very concerned about their privacy and not being like brought into anything publicly. So Jennifer Caroni's looking to help out with John. It makes sense that she wouldn't officially just join a company of SafeMoon or something, right? But I think that ECG is very much related to SafeMoon because I believe that Operation Phoenix and Gambia connections were all tied into that from the beginning, and it was meant to actually be used as support for SafeMoon, but it was possibly, this is speculation,
But why
possibly,
wasn't it owned by SafeMoon though, right? Shouldn't it be a subsidiary of SafeMoon if it was actually for SafeMoon?
not if it exposes Jennifer Caroni's name officially.
I'm sorry?
I mean, and if a purpose of it was to have Jennifer Caroni use her Gambia connections, all that, to help out SafeMoon, but she doesn't want to be a public figure, which I can tell why someone would be a public figure related to SafeMoon. It would be a means so that she could be a part of it without being officially a part of it, like publicly speaking.
I don't think you can be like that naive to think John would basically do this for his mom this entire time and then as soon as things go wrong, he blows up her name. I don't think you can be that naive.
Well,
I think it's
he
pretty
hasn't
obvious that
publicly.
John wants, just like his, like, look, just think about it. They run
Yeah,
in the same family, right? So if your
they do.
allegation is John's Caroni's mom is basically hiding things in her own name to get an upper hand, it can't be hard to believe that John Caroni would hide things in his own name to also get the upper hand, right?
Well, yeah, we know he's got Ronin Crypto Group. Or actually, what's he got in the U.S.? Ronin Crypto Groups.
Ronin Real Estate.
Ronin Real Estate, and is there another Ronin in the U.S.?
There's the other one is in London.
No, I believe there's two in the U.S. But
Oh, there's Ronin Energy or something.
Yeah, Ronin Energy. Yeah, and that's a part of the lawsuit. He's one of the plaintiffs on the one against the mother and ECG and all the LexFest stuff.
Correct. What do you
Yeah.
think about John Caroni doxing his parents? What do you think about that?
What do you mean he doxed his parents?
I mean, putting I guess you didn't see it. He put the street name where his parents live in the lawsuit.
Was that her testimony or his testimony?
No, that was definitely him. That was Exhibit C. You can look it up. He calls it. Well, I don't want to say it out loud.
I know. I looked
But,
it up. I found the address. I thought it was her testimony. It might have been
No,
both.
it was his.
They
She addresses it later because he brought it up, but she doesn't actually specify the name like he does. So
someone says the blank property multiple times. Our son wanted to invest in the blank property. Like, I'm certain it was her. It doesn't mean that John didn't do it first.
Right. She's responding.
Blank being the street name. Yeah.
She's responding to him, and he names the street name where they live, and then she's like, hey, the reason we put it in our name is because Bradford is a retired peace army person, so we could hide the address, which John doesn't have access to.
They took it off the public. They can take it off the public tax records. I actually went and looked at the tax records. Every house around it, you can see their details and address on that house. Yeah, it's gone.
Hey, champion, will you let Ellie ask her question real quick?
Sure.
Thank you so much. I'm over here stomping my feet. I appreciate it. I don't have the patience. I did want to comment really quickly on that. When I saw that he had put their street address, because I read the whole thing, I thought that was hypocritical and awful. But my question is, you said that you are going to become best friends with John's mom, and you kind of laughed, so I assume it's a joke. But my question is, have you had any contact with her or with Uncle David or Charles or even John, aside from his cease and desist? Have you had any contact with any of them to actually speak with them, or are you only taking what you're finding on public record and social media and lawsuits and things like that?
I don't want to speak publicly about that. I think it's too revealing. Thanks, though, for the question.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your chat.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, yeah, if you don't mind, I can keep going. So if wants to speak up, feel free to jump in.
Sure.
But the property with the blank property where they say the street. I don't even remember off the top of my head. I have it written down somewhere. But from what I call from that, where she was talking about our son wanted to invest 20% into the property, blah blah blah. It kind of was and he was going to try and set it up under Ronin Real Estate Group. They were thinking about that because that could hide the name, so that people wouldn't be able to find their property that they were going to move into and live in. Obviously it's not owned by Ronin Real Estate Group, so obviously that part didn't happen. The part where John was asking if he could invest 20% into it to help his real estate holdings or whatnot, according to, I believe, his mother's statements. I don't know if that actually did happen. If John's suing for the down payment back, then it sounds
it does appear like he is doing that.
Okay.
From what I read.
So it does sound like that he did put 20% down, and now he's trying to sue for his down payment back. But I will say the property, I believe in her statement, the idea was that it would not be owned by ECG, but that they would possibly lease it by ECG. And they'd use the garage to quote unquote house the lab. They'd use the property, the yard and whatnot to test the antennas. And then they'd use the house to quote unquote house guests to the property who are visiting the lab. So that property supposedly ties in pretty deeply into ECG. Now, it was purchased like in 2021. I don't know if I want to tell the month, sometime in fall in 2021. But I don't know if that was actually used for housing anything related to ECG or Dark Moon or Operation Phoenix or whatnot, but I know that was supposed to be part of the purpose of it. So I believe my assumption is John wanted to invest into that because it was going to be part of ECG. That was where the lab was going to be housed and all this stuff. So it appears like he was allowed to invest 20% into it. If he's suing to get the down payment back, it's 20% is what a down payment is. So I do see that property isn't just his parents' own private residence. It was intentionally purchased as a means to
Well, you have
run
to
ECG
understand,
lab.
like, you have to read through the legalese here, right?
Yeah.
Like, of course, if you're trying to get a tax write-off for a house, you're going to say, hey, we're going to use this. You know, in the lawsuit, you'd never say, like, oh, yeah, this is actually just our house, right? Obviously, you're going to say, oh, this is for the lab. This is for the, you know, whatever.
If they already got a tax write-off, they're going to have to stand by that.
Right, of course. So I guess this is my question. Champion of Sun, I always appreciate your kind of perspective on things because I like that you dive deep in this stuff. So let me ask, because I know you're one of the few people who probably knows probably as much about SafeMoon as anybody.
Yeah.
Do you think after all these, after literally years of looking at this, do you think on the balance this has been a fraud? Do you think that John Caroni is unfit as a CEO? What is your conclusion from all of this, right? What is your, because you know all this stuff, but what is the conclusion you've come to?
I don't think it's straight up a fraud or anything like that. I don't. I really don't. Again, if we want to get back into the LP stuff and Bitmart a little bit, as you said yourself, you don't know if there was a deal. What kind of deal? You assume there was a deal. We don't know what that deal was. I believe when you talked to Thomas, he was talking about they moved liquidity from Pancake Swap V1 to V2, kept the SafeMoon behind, and then they used the SafeMoon left behind to provide liquidity to all these exchanges they were getting listed on. Now,
I just want to say something on that real quick, because
sure.
I said we don't know, but that's not actually true. We don't know all the facts that make sense of what the numbers say, but we do have a statement from Bitmart about what the deal actually was. So
Bitmart
return
to the developers to be added to the liquidity pool.
Correct.
Now, that being said, what Thomas was saying, I believe in the full interview, was that SafeMoon owned all the market making accounts for all the central exchange deals that they made. And what happened there, potentially, is that the USDT collected could have been sent, for the 5% for LP at least, could have been collected and sent to that market making account, which is a liquidity provider for that centralized exchange. Right? So that's something that Thomas said. I'm sorry, you got quiet. I wasn't sure if you're still there.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. Sorry, I didn't hear the end of the point. I didn't know what the end of the point was. Maybe I missed it.
Okay. I'm just saying, when I listened to the full interview several times between you and Thomas, he was saying that SafeMoon was sending this quote unquote, his quote was, the liquidity is still liquidity. He broke it apart. He got the BNB half and he put it back into SafeMoon. He bought it. He didn't buy and burn it, but he bought it, and they got even more. Sure, they got more SafeMoon in the SafeMoon owner account or whatever. Whenever he did that, but none of the BNB technically left SafeMoon. Whenever he pulled some SafeMoon out, doing the V1 to V2 pancake swap, the rest was used to provide as liquidity for centralized exchanges, and then these centralized exchanges, SafeMoon owned all the market making accounts.
He says they provided liquidity, but respectfully, like, I trust Thomas about as far as I can throw him as far as that stuff. What he's saying doesn't actually make sense with what Bitmart told me and with what Bitmart told the public. Like, I don't know if he's a stooge for Caroni in this stuff, or if he actually believes it. Like, it's like kind of hard to know, how much he himself would willfully mislead, or how much he's just explaining what he knows, because he doesn't seem to understand the Bitmart deal at all. If you listen to the call, he actually contradicts himself, I think, once or twice. So it's kind of hard to kind of go off what his word is. What we know from the Bitmart statement about tokenomics, there was liquidity given back to the SafeMoon team to be added back to the liquidity pool. that never actually happened. Instead, we
Well,
saw all this money go to the Gabe
that's
wallet. We see all this money go to the Gabe wallet from Bitmart, and we have no idea where that comes from, right? Where is all these millions of dollars coming into the Gabe wallets and his associated wallets? We also have evidence that this is probably John's personal wealth. I mean, I don't know if you're still trying to dispute that or not, but we know that John's mom is saying he invested $5 million of his personal money. He's got millions of dollars of real estate money. I mean, where are you trying to say this came from? Because we know John didn't like purchase a bunch of SafeMoon before, and that's where all his money went. All we have is the records of Bitmart. Suddenly he has millions of dollars. You know, where do you think this money came from?
Well, so here's the thing that I've been trying to figure out, and maybe something you can look into as good as I can. Like, look at the Bitmart volume from those days. Like look at how high it was. Like in some days, supposedly it was up to like one day it was up to like 150 million, or sorry, yeah, $150 million of volume in a single day. So like 10% of that would have been 15 million on a single day alone. So some of the money that came out just seems extremely low if all of it was straight up just going to John's pockets.
It's hard to say because centralized exchanges oftentimes fluff their numbers to try to make themselves look more authentic. So it's always hard to trust, like, how much do you trust their volume numbers anyways? I'm not trying to tell them they're lying, but that's just...
Well, I mean, Pancake Swap on that day had like 250 million, and that wasn't a fluff number. Like, it had several hundred million.
That's definitely a real number.
So it's reasonable. It's reasonable to expect that Bitmart could have had that volume.
Saying, I'm not even trying to claim that every single dollar that went to Bitmart went into John's pocket. I'm saying even if you assume that some fraction of the dollars that was supposed to be for the community goes into John's pockets and he ends up a millionaire, that can't make sense from an investor standpoint, because you know that money came from the LP, which is supposed to be for investors. So that would be fraud. And there's just sort of no way around it. Like how
Bitmart isn't
you have to provide a plausible reason that how John got the money that is a better explanation than what I could give, right? Because there's a very clear path from the evidence that I provide to John having millions of dollars, but there's no clear path from like John's innocent to him having millions of dollars suddenly. How does he have millions of dollars in June? Right.
The path is that I don't think they were falsifying their volume. That could explain it. They could have just been falsifying their volume, sure, but that's just saying something that we don't know to be true.
No. I'm saying John just took money from Bitmart. I'm saying provide me an explanation. I've given you an explanation for how John got his millions of dollars. It came from the Bitmart deal and all that, but you haven't given me, which came from the LP, as we know. You haven't given me a plausible explanation of how he could have legally gotten this money in a way that is not fraudulent.
Okay, and this, again, I don't know about volume and if this would be a reasonable amount of money to obtain from it, but running a market-making account does provide some sorts of profits, and the volume is very high for those several months. I don't know if that would be remotely close to how much was pulled out, but I know Papa said that they made money on the market-making account.
But we can't trust Papa because he didn't even understand the deal, and his account directly contradicts what Bitmart tells me, right? So all we have evidence for.
Did Bitmart tell you something different than what we? Because what we saw is, yes, it will do 5% to be returned to the developers to be added back to the liquidity pool or whatever, which a liquidity pool for centralized exchange is a market-making account. So I don't think that in itself necessarily directly contradicts what Papa said, that the 5% went to market-making account. That doesn't contradict that.
I have a question though. If they were doing did you say 150 million in volume on Bitmart at a point? Is that what you said?
On one day.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the highest point, yeah.
Okay, so let's say they did even 50 million for a while, like a month or two or whenever it was popping off.
Yeah.
We were told that part of the money that was coming back was going to be from Bitmart back to the DEX, right? Like that was the whole point.
I don't believe that wording. I don't believe the word DEX or Pancake Swap was ever mentioned. It said returned on the liquidity.
I was a moderator at the time, and
Okay.
we were told that like one of the things to fight FUD, because everyone was like basically freaking out because Bitmart had no tokenomics, was
Yeah.
that tokenomics was going to be put in place, and
Yeah.
that basically the amount of reflections or whatever were going to be coming back to everyone else, and that the tax for the LP part of it was going to come back, right? So we were told all of that. We were told to tell people that. I don't have proof of that, so
Yeah.
that's just my word. Like I can't prove it.
I would love to
didn't,
see.
but no, I'd like to get to my point.
Sorry,
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
So my point is that say you have, on average $50 million of volume for a certain amount of time. That's quite a lot of money that could be going back in reflections to the other holders or back into the LP, and being that SafeMoon will fluff up not like the littlest thing that's unimportant, like a freaking dark mode moon pay screen. If they were actually injecting a ton of money back into the LP or back into, reflections through Bitmart like they'd promised, they'd be sharing the transactions. They'd be like, hell yeah, look at all this money we're giving you guys. So like that's where I don't really buy, the theory that like, oh, I don't know, that it's just not like it wasn't happening, or that there was that much money going through there. John wasn't getting money from it.
Right. So I would definitely, if you could, look into that and see where you were told specifically to be returned to the DEX, Bitmart, or be.
Dude,
everyone's read that.
I was a SafeMoon mod like a year and a half ago,
Right.
and I didn't screenshot shit because I believed in SafeMoon. Like I wasn't sitting there, and I'm not in the Discord. I'm not in mod chats anymore. I can't access any of that. So
Do you know if any of that was in the public Discord from anyone official on the team?
I mean,
Again, if anyone has that
you
stuff, I think it'd be great for them to come out.
could look back at potentially like, I guess I don't know if my messages delete when I was in there, but I think like all of us mods back at that time, if someone could go back, I'm banned, so if
Right.
someone could go back and like
Ban him.
search for things, but like that was the message the mod team was saying when the Bitmart
was a
reflections.
Yeah. If you were told.
Website. There was a page on the Bitmart Help website which said that explicitly. Also on L Bank and I think MXC, but definitely I think the page is still there for L Bank. I'm not sure if it's been removed from Bitmart, but I remember I made an internet archive of it. The internet Wayback Machine thingamabob.
Yeah.
So it's archived somewhere, and I've got a screenshot.
Yeah, I'd love to see anything specifically mentioning it would go to the DEX or go to PancakeSwap from a centralized exchange. Because, like I said, Bitmart definitely has the thing that they told everyone it will be returned. 5% will be returned to the developers added to the liquidity pool, which again,
Well, what liquidity pool
Thomas,
would
and
that
I didn't
be?
know that.
John's wallet, because the only liquidity pool at the time was the debt, like PancakeSwap.
A centralized exchange, the liquidity pool for centralized exchange, correct? It's an order book. It's a market making account that runs those order books. And according to Thomas in the interview with Coffee, and this is the only reason I know about it, SafeMoon owned the market making accounts for all the centralized exchanges they listed on.
Yeah, so then where's the money that they're making off the market makers going? Like either way, the whole concern of the holders at the time was like, you've got Bitmart, they don't have fucking, I'm having a brain fart, tokenomics.
Yeah.
They don't have tokenomics. And so you've got Bitmart, they don't have tokenomics, that's going to take away from us. And that was the whole, that was everybody.
Well, they had local tokenomics, local tokenomics, right? Meaning that.
Can I just jump in here real quick? Because I think we need to drill down on one thing, which is that, look, even if you assume SafeMoon is making all this money on their market making account, right?
Sure.
Which we don't have evidence
I don't know
for.
if that's possible, but yes.
Let's just say it's possible, right?
Sure.
That still doesn't, that just gets you to SafeMoon having a lot of money themselves. It still doesn't get you to John having $5 million in June.
John owns 75% of the company, and what's it? Kyle.
No.
Kyle owns 25%, right? I'm going somewhere with this. So as a 75% owner of a company, you're entitled to 75% of the profits. So if that was considered profits, you can say it should or not. But if it was, then John got 75% of what was earned. Let's just say the market making account is how they made money. And so therefore nothing too bad there. 75% of that came to John.
Wait. We're
as
talking about
personal
we're
profit.
talking about June real quick, right? I don't even know if actually Bitmart was developed by then, or was it?
No. Bitmart was April, early-ish April.
Okay.
April,
So
May.
they're in
Yeah, and
April.
the
They have
highest months
Bitmart.
were April and May were the super crazy months.
Okay.
So yeah.
So in April and then in June, John has $5 million, and you think that's appropriate for a CEO?
Well, if it's from a market making account, we said we're just sake of argumenting here. If it was, that's profits. Now, if he took that $5 million, he was trying to more or less reinvest at least a good amount of it back into SafeMoon. Unfortunately, with the ECG thing with his mother, amongst hiring people, because they've been hiring people, paying people. Someone got paid to develop the wallet. You can say it's trash and you don't like it, but someone got paid for that.
Can I say
Some of the
something real
money
quick?
is clearly going back into the project. But
Wouldn't
I
it,
wanted to
if
go
it had
back
been a
to
market maker, it would have been a slam dunk on Coffeezilla and all the futters of, look, you guys are idiots. It wasn't the liquidity pool, it was the market maker, and we did it right. The fact that they withhold that just does not seem to fit.
Well, Uncle Dave, as he says, there's a class action, so he'll do nods and winks and gifts and whatnot, but he won't say anything.
He's up right now. He just came up.
Oh, will he? Okay. Does he have?
Hey, David.
Great.
I don't know if he's going to be a speaker. Oh, wait.
I mean, he probably shouldn't. Like I think when you talk to people, Coffee, you're like, you're in a lawsuit, so you talk if you want. I'm happy to listen, but don't get yourself in trouble.
Man, let him speak if he wants to speak.
Bro, let him speak if he wants to speak. Yeah.
David Smith. Earth calling David.
How's it going, David? Welcome to
I posted the
365.
B2 fees from Bitmart up top.
David has left. I guess you're checking to come up and face people.
Do we actually know the trading fees for Bitmart, by the way? What the trading fees are?
Yeah, I posted them to the top on V2.
Yeah,
I couldn't
hold
find
on.
V1.
Someone tell David to just come in and listen for a bit, and if he feels like
Okay,
talking, then he can
where's
talk.
the guy who put it in on chat?
I put it up top on the pin. I pinned it to the top.
Okay. I still don't see it. Can you just tell me what they are? What it is?
It should come up like any minute, any second now.
Just tell me what the number is, though. Just give me the number.
10%.
No, 10.1. But Bitmart also has their own fees. So what's Bitmart's fees?
It'll probably be like 0.2% or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't say Bitmart's fees on there. It just says Bitmart and SafeMoon's fees.
Because if we're understanding this right, market making fees would have to at least be equal to or less than Bitmart's own fees, right? Because all they're charging is Bitmart fees plus SafeMoon tokenomics. If SafeMoon tokenomics are just 10%, so that's already accounted for. The only place you could even ever see money going to SafeMoon, quote legally, would be in the fee spread, right? Like that's what you're saying, correct? Is because they're making money from these supposed fees. So what are the fees of Bitmart so that we can calculate that?
0.04% to 0.06%.
0.04 to 0.06.
Yes, all other tokens range from that little range.
So you have to assume
that's the Bitmart fee,
Bitmart has
that's
to
yours.
make money.
Yeah.
Bitmart has to make money,
Sure.
and then you also have to have SafeMoon at some point. If we believe the Papa story about they're making a bunch of money from the market making account, which all Papa really knew was that money was going into the Bitmart account and that money was coming out. That's all he knew. Correct?
Yeah, he knew there was a market making account. He knew money went into it. He said he wasn't 100% sure what happened once it made it into the market making account. Correct.
Right, and he said the numbers kept being off. He's like, I would calculate the numbers, and then the numbers would come back and they would be off.
Right. I think he said something like that.
Yeah.
I'd have to listen again for the exact.
I mean,
details,
but you can't
sounds
believe
right.
Papa when it's convenient and not when it's not. So it's like either he's credible or not. I don't find him to be that credible personally. I prefer to believe kind of Bitmart on this whole thing. And when it's supposed to be directly distributed back to the liquidity pool, I think that's a pretty clear meaning. You have a market-making account and you have a liquidity pool. Those are two very different things. I mean, I know you're saying that, they're not talking about, they're talking about the DEX. But literally, there wasn't a thing called, it's go to the liquidity pool. It was always called the market maker in centralized finance. All of a sudden, decentralized finance comes out. Everyone talks about liquidity pools. So how do you think it could be referring to anything else?
because liquidity pool for a centralized exchange is a market maker account.
No. But I
Now
know,
they could have
you
said
call
market
it that,
maker.
right?
You're right. You're right. They could have, if that's what it's for, they could have more clearly said it's given back to the team to be added to the market maker account, which is a liquidity pool for a centralized exchange. It provides a liquidity, essentially. It's got a pool of SafeMoon tokens. It's got a pool of USDT, and you'd have to that there is a market maker account, because there's a lot of trades going on in that system. It worked pretty well, and it wouldn't have worked well without a market maker account. Could it have produced the kind of profits that we're seeing? I have no idea. That one I'm not sure of.
So, on Bitmart has a listing PDF. On the PDF, it says you need to have $25,000 USDT and $25,000 of tokens, not millions and millions and millions of dollars. 25,000. And
that's to get started, right?
That's to get started, and it's only optional for the first month of listing. You don't need it for the second month on. And there's there's still no evidence that the SafeMoon team actually used it. Additionally, the company which Bitmart claimed to be their market maker, it's based in New Jersey, in the same place Bitmart is based. Their website, I've forgotten the name of the company by now, but on their website, they've got a team photos, which are AI generated. The company doesn't seem to exist on Google. The entire company is a fraud. Bitmart is a fraud, but I guess I'm getting off topic here. But anyway, you only need $25,000 in your Bitmart market maker account.
If I could say something,
yeah,
real
but if
quick,
someone
the team
sells $1 million worth and you have 25,000 in that account,
son,
the liquidity is going to be horrible.
To the information that Coffee put out, did they react as if, what an idiot, he got all this wrong, and we could easily shut this down and stop our community from being at each other's throats? Why would they not just say, it was the Bitmart? Like, why would they tell us that if it was such a simple answer? That,
I mean, they didn't respond in any way, shape, or form at all. Like, there was not a positive or negative response. They just.
And is that more likely when
they did though? John put out a little a little picture or whatever, saying like, I'm aware that there's a lot of FUD going on in the community, and I'm going to choose not to respond to it.
He said he's Matrix from the Neo. You forgot about that. That was his big
yeah, I forgot about that one.
So I'm about to have to take off.
Sure.
I guess, is there any other big? I've appreciated chatting to everyone.
I think she came up to ask you a question with the hand up, but that'll be last.
Okay, this is the last one.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to basically answer a question. They were asking about Bitmart market making fees and such. So basically, I have a coin listed on Bitmart, so I can basically tell you the market making fees. So basically, it's called special VIP for people who have coins on Bitmart market making, and it's actually negative fees, so we get paid by Bitmart themselves from market making fees. So we have basically a maker fee of negative 0.001, and we have a taker fee of 0.04. So there is a slight fee on the taker side. As for the market making side, Bitmart themselves actually don't have a market maker. You have to go to a third service market maker and basically pay them to provide them for their services. And Bitmart basically has like requirements you have to meet to basically meet the standards of Bitmart's market making. So you have to go to the market maker, provide them with around like $20,000 to $50,000 in liquidity, and they'll market make for you. But Bitmart doesn't actually provide any market making. So what happened is SafeMoon did deal with one of the third-party market makers. They basically just told Bitmart to comply to basically allow these transactions to basically go through to this fee pool, how reflections work on SafeMoon. But everything that happened was by a third-party market maker. Like, I'll give you basically CLS, Coin Liquidity Solutions. That's one example of a market maker. There's another one called, I forgot the name. But basically, if you just search like market making services for projects on Google, there's a bunch, and you can see ones that support Bitmart's exchange. But yeah, Bitmart, they put like extortionate like market making practices. So you need to have I think they updated them now, because basically what these coins do is basically Bitmart, they like to have really high end market making requirements. So they basically get rankings up on like CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. So by putting these like really crazy requirements, like $100,000 in trading volume, most of it's artificial. Like with SafeMoon, like most of SafeMoon's volume was done by market makers, and actually it's just basically to inflate Bitmart's trading volume, so they get these higher ranks on CoinGecko. And I think when SafeMoon first came on Bitmart, Bitmart went to like a top 9 spot in the top 9 exchanges. So basically, that's essentially how Bitmart works. Bitmart makes most of its money from market making, actually. basically make leeway for our tokenomics. They're like, sure, but basically like it isn't as professional as everyone thinks. Basically, Bitmart, they have like a set requirements. They're like, oh, you have to have $100,000 of volume. Depending on how good your connections are in Bitmart, you can get better or worse deals, right? Like for instance, I know people who don't have to meet Bitmart's market making requirements at all, right? And then there's some like coins that don't know anyone in Bitmart whatsoever. They have to meet their $20,000 in trading volume per day, their 5% bid-ask spread, their 2% bid-ask spread, and so forth. But basically, they just have to meet set requirements, and these set requirements are carried out by third-party market makers.
Yeah. If you could share screenshots of that. Again, the only primary source we have from SafeMoon is Thomas, and who knows if he was being truthful in what he was saying.
There's another primary source. The other primary source is a blockchain, which Coffezilla didn't look at clearly because he published that video relying on Thomas as a source, when everyone could see on the blockchain, the most primary source you could have, that the tokens, which were removed from liquidity initially, which John said were going to go to a market maker account, actually went to John's personal Bitmart account. They were not sent to a market maker. They were sent to John's personal Bitmart account, like the BNB. So Coffezilla, why did you just rely on Thomas when you could have just looked at the blockchain and saw what I've been saying for the last 6 months?
I don't know why you phrased the questions the way you phrased them, but they come off so passive aggressive. I will answer you though. It's because it's hard to distinguish what is a personal Bitmart account. Unlike, contrary to what you said, I did look at it. A personal Bitmart account versus a market making account. If you can explain,
it is easy. It is easy.
Okay, go ahead. How?
Okay, first, market makers like Wintermute and all the other ones, they have specific deposit addresses which they send all tokens to. So if Wintermute were sending Shiba Inu or Doge to Bitmart, it would all go into the same Bitmart address. That address would be years old because Bitmart have been around for years. But on the other hand, when John started using Bitmart, he started sending USDT and SafeMoon tokens to an address which was brand new. It was a brand new address. Then he started. Then SafeMoon tokens were sent to it. Initially, like 200 billion or something SafeMoon tokens, which John told Papa to send, and BNB was sent to that address. The BNB, there would be no reason to send BNB to the market maker address. So it was clearly just John's personal account, John's personal Bitmart account, which he was using to sell tokens from. Well, that address also received tokens from the Gabe wallet. So it is actually possible to tell. You just didn't do the research.
LOL. Amy, I enjoy your commentary. I always enjoy talking to you, but you are a painful person sometimes. Sure. I mean, yeah, it's likely that it was his personal address. Next time you want to make a public video asserting that, you can feel free to do so yourself. I didn't feel like I had the strong enough evidence for it, but clearly you do, so you can state that publicly if you want. I did want to focus on the main point we've learned here today, which is actually that we just got proof to me that this whole sham story about it all being market-making fees is obviously a crock, and it always has been a crock. Because the truth is that they weren't making money from these market-making fees. It sounds like they had to at least pay Bitmart or some deal that they clearly weren't making money, because that's how Bitmart makes money, is market-making. So the reality is, whatever you want to believe, whatever you want to believe about, market making, not market making, even if they were market making, they weren't making money because they're going through some third party. And Bitmart has standard deals where people are taking a negative deal on it. They're not actually making money from it. So that's the reality of the situation. So back to the question, Champion of Sun. What do you have to say about that? Assuming it's true, let's just go with the idea that this guy is being truthful and that this really was SafeMoon's deal. Now, is there any explanation for how John Caroni could have had millions of dollars? Or do we have to conclude, like most of us have, that he stole the money?
Can I comment on Amy's thing real quick? There is actually an address, and I'd love to share it with her, where you see initially Gabe was sending large amounts of SafeMoon to, and then that would send that SafeMoon out to Bitmart. And then the contract owner wallet that was controlled by Papa was sending SafeMoon to, which was then being sent to Bitmart. And after that, once Papa's ownership was removed and it was sent to, quote unquote, the financial team that became the owner of the contract, of the SafeMoon V1 contract, that new 1v1 owner started sending SafeMoon on regular intervals to this wallet, which would then send them on to Bitmart. So as far as it being John's quote unquote personal account on Bitmart, I think that this might dispute that, as Gabe was sending it there initially, then the one that Papa controlled was sending it to there. I don't know that Papa would be sending
Well,
John's personal account.
Papa sent it there because he was told to. No, so if you check my profile, I've actually got a screenshot from Papa where that John is telling Papa in Discord. John says, remove 200 billion from liquidity and send them to this address, which is the address you're referencing now. So Papa did that on instructions of John.
Yeah, but you say you know it's his personal account, and you don't know it though.
Well, I mean,
that's all I'm saying. You don't know. It could be, it could not be, but we don't. There's no way we can actually know. We can know that three wallets were sending SafeMoon. Two that were contract owners. One that was Gabe, which got its money from basically. Okay, so Gabe, if everyone knows where SafeMoon came from, it came from Gabe. Or sorry, it started with the SafeMoon deployer that Kyle controlled. Got sent to its intermediary wallet, and then trillions were sent from there to Papa's contract owner wallet, and then the tokens are sent from that to Gabe right before the Bitmark deal happened, and then from there Gabe started sending SafeMoon at regular intervals into this one wallet, which I have to assume was their intake wallet for Bitmart, because Gabe was sending SafeMoon tokens, and then Papa's contract owner was sending SafeMoon tokens to Bitmart, and then the new owner of the contract, after Papa was given up ownership of the contract wallet, it started sending tokens in here into Bitmart. So that's what happened. What if it's John's personal wallet? I don't know how you can actually say that it is, just because he was telling this is where Thomas should send tokens. He could be sending that for providing liquidity. He could be sending it for tokens that were purchased OTC for reflections. That's a possibility. We didn't talk about that. We can get into that. But I don't see how you, Amy, can say that you know for sure that it's John's personal Bitmart wallet. That's just not a thing that you can be sure of.
Sure, can't be 100% sure of it, but just by logic of deduction, I think you can say with some degree of certainty, but not 100%. But that's my opinion. Yeah, that is just my opinion.
Can you speak to my question about I think we got some pretty incredible evidence here. I just feel like we need to once again turn back to it and address it, which is
sure.
You just got the most firsthand evidence where I know you're talking about like primary sources, but we couldn't have a more primary source right now than somebody who literally has spoken to SafeMoon's market makers and been on Bitmart himself with the market maker. I don't know, like that
was Usopp, right?
Yeah, that's Usopp.
Yeah.
So can you I don't know. I feel like we need to grapple with this more, because I feel like we just brushed it off. But it's like
the
for
sure.
Revelation in this whole call.
If Usopp can share screenshots, I think that'd be amazing. And also, especially if he's talked to the liquidity providers on Bitmart that he says that SafeMoon was paying fees to, as opposed to making money from. If he's got proof of that, that would be definitely a big thing to say. To say that what Papa was saying is not accurate. That SafeMoon did not actually strike a deal with Bitmart and Bitmart at least. We only know Bitmart here, but that SafeMoon did not strike a deal with Bitmart to be their market making account, their exclusive market making account. Now, so wherever Gabe was sending SafeMoon to, and then Papa's contract owner, then the new contract owner after that, maybe that was if Usopp has proof screenshots from a market maker that says that they made a deal with SafeMoon for SafeMoon to pay them fees to list SafeMoon tokens, then yeah, that would pretty well show that what Papa was telling you in the interview was not accurate. He either misunderstood it or misrepresented it on purpose. But
yeah,
that's only if Usopp can show those screenshots. It's great to get an inner working of how a normal 20,000 volume a day smaller thing that Bitmart just basic token that they list. That's pretty small market cap, pretty small volume that Bitmart didn't go and write a new logic in their system to.
Okay, we get it. Let Coffee go.
So, but yeah, if you've got that information, I would love to see it. I think everyone would love to see it.
Yeah.
Again, this is that no one even talked about market making accounts except for Papa to Coffee before. Coffee, I don't think you even mentioned market making in your main videos, even though Papa told you that multiple times. But if you have proof from market makers who have talked to you and say that they made deals with SafeMoon and how those deals actually worked out, and SafeMoon didn't have the market making account, that'd be awesome to see.
With SafeMoon's old market maker, it was over a phone call, which was a long time ago. I'll try messaging them again and get like their word on it to get to show you solid proof exactly what happened
Sure,
with
yeah.
SafeMoon. As for, I can show you the inner workings of like the fees, for example. I can easily just send you. I'll send Coffee a screenshot of my trading dashboard on Bitmart to show you the fees are actually in the negative for market makers. So it isn't like they're paying fees for market making. Also, I'll be able to just show like the contract, like the inner workings of how market making works, etc.
Hey, Yusuf, can I ask, is the company called TY Trading? Is that the company you're talking about?
No,
TY
I believe
Trading?
no.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Yusuf.
No problem.
Can you answer the question, Champion? Why wouldn't they just say, hey guys, it was the market maker, we didn't take from the liquidity pool?
I'm not them. I haven't talked to their legal team.
Well, I'm just logically,
why
do you think they wouldn't say that?
they have lawsuits against them. Whether frivolous or not, we can all debate that. They have a deal contract potentially written with Bitmart, potentially contracts with third party market maker that they made deals with. They have no reason to potentially.
Well, Thomas said it, and Thomas has
them.
been under NDAs, so that actually does indicate that Thomas thought that was something that he could talk about. And when John did the 32 podcast recently, he said, in talking about FUD, he said there's been some really tough FUD lately that's been really hard to deal with, but luckily I've had my team around me. And this was right after Coffezilla put out his videos, and in my mind, if that was a simple solution to the worst FUD that's ever come out about SafeMoon, they would, in my mind, it seems very logical they would have said that. And that the reason that they haven't said that is because it wasn't a market maker. And even if it was a market maker, how does a market maker make profit? Isn't it by like overcharging, like by charging more over here and selling cheaper over here?
I'll tell you. So essentially, with market makers, how they make profit is basically Bitmart only approves certain, their API, basically their trading API, their market maker, isn't open source and isn't available to everyone. Like with KuCoin stuff, you can have, or certain other exchanges can connect bots to it, right? With Bitmart, it's closed source. So essentially, they only allow their API connections to certain market makers. So how do you become an approved market maker? You have to hold like $100,000 in Bitmart tokens to become an approved market maker. So these market makers, they buy 100K in Bitmart tokens, they hold them, and they go around and collect clients that want to market make on Bitmart, right? They go around the coins that are listed on Bitmart and offer to market make for them. Their market making fees, they charge them like a monthly fee for market making, not including liquidity. So you have to provide your own liquidity in the back end, and then they also charge market making fees. So essentially, It's around like $10,000 a month, $15K a month, $3K a month, depending on your connections to the market maker and Bitmart. It depends on how your monthly fee, right? I heard that SafeMoon was paying around 15 to 20K per month for market making, but I'm not quite sure because this was quite a long time ago. It was like nearly when Bitmart first listed in SafeMoon.
Second's recent pinned tweets. That's got their prices right there. The second most recent pinned tweet.
Slick, did you need to say something?
Yeah, guys, we can battle about this all day long to the end of friggin' time. But at the end of the day, he did wrong. SafeMoon did some very wrong things, and the consequences have to be made correctly because they took people's money. Doesn't matter how, doesn't matter when it was taken. And the bottom line is it has to have justice because innocent people lost a lot of money and it's not cool. And I don't like that. Things like this are happening in other companies too, in DeFi or whatever you want to call them. And these crypto companies are taking people's innocent money that they worked hard for. And that's the bottom line. So we can talk about this all day. Coffezilla, you have a lot of viewers, so a lot of people got to see, what you put together. Same thing with you, Crypto Control. But at the end of the day, we all know that they're scamming, they're taking people's money, and that's the bottom line.
You got no disagreements from me, my friend. I mean, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm on your side, Coffeezilla. I know the first video, me and you got into it when I said fishy, and then you called me a mermaid or whatever it was. It was pretty funny. But nah, man, you bring out the truth, and if people can't look at it in that perspective, the way you're portraying it, how you're showing it to people, it's all right there, though. It's all right there.
Well, here's
no one
what's
gets a big house, this and that over a year. It's just ridiculous.
Let me tell you what's confusing to me. As we uncover more, the evidence seems to only lean in one side, which is it just seems to always make SafeMoon look worse and look more corrupt. And so it's just amazing to me that there's still people who are sort of on the fence about this, even though, I can respect how much some people know, like Champion Son, obviously he knows a lot. But I just don't understand, like, constantly giving them the ultimate benefit of the doubt. There's a point at which we could just have statements from Bitmart themselves saying this, that, and the other, and somebody could say, well, that wasn't from a primary source, Papa. And it's like, okay, well, like,
if Bitmart, come on, if
when are we going to believe
Bitmart
the
came out with
preponderance of
statements,
evidence?
I would definitely follow those. The only reason, only primary source I've ever heard, it was thanks to you, Coffeezilla. Others, I would have had no idea that was a possibility, that SafeMoon possibly had a market making account deal with Bitmart. I only know it because of your interview with Papa. Otherwise, yeah, it's just guesswork, completely guesswork, like what that money is from entirely.
Hey, Champion, did you just see what Amy put up top?
I haven't seen what did she put up top?
PDF from Bitmart stating that required for listing, you have to pay $3,000 a month for liquidity trading.
Yeah, for a standard token listing, that is probably correct. Yes.
I think you keep assuming that, like, SafeMoon was coming in from this incredible position of strength, and I understand where that's coming from because they had volume. But if you remember, Bitmart was one of their early listings that they got, and one of their biggest. So Bitmart, it wasn't like SafeMoon was Bitcoin and they were just begging SafeMoon to come on board. SafeMoon was begging exchanges to get listed. So I think you're coming from this perspective of like, oh, SafeMoon really bent them over backwards with this incredible deal because, like, they just were so incredible, such an incredible partner. But you have to understand, this is at a time where exchanges don't just want to take on just any other crypto company, any other shitcoin that comes around, especially with how new SafeMoon was. These companies look seriously at them and they go, look, you could totally take advantage of me. I'm going to give you the standard deal. So I don't know. I think you're giving too much credit to the idea that, like, SafeMoon had all the power at this deal. I think actually Bitmart gave them an incredible amount of legitimacy when they added them.
Yeah.
No, not even remotely close. At that time, SafeMoon had already been listed on Whitebit, which was the first exchange. At that time, it was the height of shitcoin mania. Bitmart was listing absolutely any token. The reason all of these shitcoins from the SafeMoon world go on Bitmart is because Bitmart is a scam and it has no morals. Bitmart will list absolutely anyone.
No, but my point is the argument is that Bitmart let them bend them over backwards and gave them this incredible deal where they're paying them millions of dollars a month while charging every other shitcoin $3,000 a month. That's my point.
Exactly.
Bitmart did develop the 10% fee into their system. Like that was not a thing that existed. So they did bend over to some degree.
No, what Yusuf is saying though,
they were excited
party.
about seeing a viral crypto with extremely high volume to get joined.
But that fee is baked into SafeMoon.
Stuff yet.
That fee is baked into SafeMoon. They have to charge that fee because you have to, like, you get charged a fee just for buying the fucking coin. So they have to charge the fee to go out and actually buy the coin for people that are buying on their exchange. That's not profit. The question is, where's the profit coming from? That 10% is just the requirement to buy the coin.
So Yusuf, again, you know a lot more about this than probably most of us, it sounds like. Let's say the market making account that was servicing SafeMoon. Let's say there's only one, and who knows who owned it, third party, whoever. You say that they make a lot of money potentially on these. Do you have any concept of how much? Let's say that the volume that we can see on Bitmart from those days was accurate. Let's say that wasn't faked. Let's say that was accurate. Do you have any idea how much a market making account could have potentially made during those months where volume was regular hitting $50 to $100 million?
That's the thing. Market makers don't get paid on a volume basis. I mean, higher volume pairs would require more money paid to market makers basically to maintain that more volume for like safety reasons. Because people try like arbitrage attacks, and good market makers can prevent that. But basically, it's a monthly fee you pay these market makers. The if you're talking about market making fees on Bitmart, that's Bitmart gets paid in fees. But all coins basically, they don't have to pay anything towards Bitmart for fee wise. So basically, SafeMoon wasn't paying anything to Bitmart for market making fees.
Oh no,
Apart from
not the token or coin that's listed itself. Like the market maker itself, how much could a market maker running that kind of volume potentially make? Like
that's what I'm
not
trying to
the
say.
token.
Market makers don't make money. Market makers don't make money based on volume. They make money on a monthly fee or yearly fee. So once you list with them,
Fees
basically you
only.
pay via contract. You basically agree with them. You'll pay them, let's say, 5K every month, or you can do a bulk deal and say for a year of your market making service, we'll pay you like 100K. That's basically how it works. They don't get paid based on volume. They get paid based on like a contractual monthly basis, kind of like an invoice.
Don't they take some kind of risk themselves with that? Do they increase the fee based
No,
on how
because
much more risk there? How does that?
it's the coin's liquidity. They're basically just trading the coin's liquidity. So SafeMoon had to provide their own liquidity. The market makers weren't providing liquidity, so there's no risk to the market makers, just the coin. So the coin actually had to trust that the market maker could do their job good enough that people wouldn't basically rob money from the liquidity pool by arbitraging. So essentially, just let's say I had the coin, right? I go
Yeah.
to Bitmart, I set up a market maker account, I put in like 50K in liquidity, and then I get a third party market maker. I say, hey, I'll pay you 10K a month, market making this for me. That's basically how it works.
Right. Okay. So the market maker makes no money on volume whatsoever.
No, not whatsoever.
They don't make money on the spread, only on fees.
Only on the monthly invoicing that you pay market makers.
So nobody makes money on the spread. Like, isn't that?
He's saying Bitmart does.
Bitmart
does.
exclusively makes money on the spread.
Yes, Bitmart does for users. So essentially, basically, Bitmart was making money because, you know, when users buy and sell at the same time, there's fees for users. But if you're talking about actual market making fees for Bitmart, right? Like, there's zero fees for market making accounts or personal accounts for CEOs, right? So essentially, the market making account that, let's say, was generating hundreds of Ks of volume per day, Bitmart wasn't making any money from that because there's literally a negative 0.001% fee on that. The money Bitmart was making from SafeMoon would have been user generated volume, the natural volume.
Right. Okay. So does Bitmart only make money on their given fee that they
make money on the
I'll
spread.
tell you how Bitmart makes money, right?
So Bitmart makes money on the spread themselves, but they
Yeah,
don't.
but the part that you're missing is that Bitmart is not the market maker. Bitmart has a market maker. They're the exchange, and they have a market maker.
Yes.
Right. So how much do you think the market maker that they have could have made on SafeMoon's volume?
Like I said, it isn't based on volume.
They don't get paid on volume. The exchange gets paid on volume because of the spread. The market maker has a contract.
Indeed, that's what I'm saying. You shouldn't phrase the question, how much did they make based on volume? SafeMoon's volume could have been $1 in natural volume, and they would have still made the same amount. Market makers are paid on a monthly basis. I've heard that they're paying 15K per month. So if you just basically multiply that by the time they were active on Bitmart, you can on a monthly basis, you can see basically how much they're paying. I don't know if they did a bulk deal, like they paid on a yearly basis instead of a monthly basis, but just think maybe let's say they're operational on Bitmart for a year, then just, you know, times 15K by 12 to basically see how much the market makers made. As for Bitmart, SafeMoon paid Bitmart the full amount for listing. They paid $50,000 to Bitmart to list SafeMoon, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And then after that, basically Bitmart made money from SafeMoon on naturally generated volume by like user volume. If you're talking about market making volume, they didn't make any money from market making on Bitmart, apart from the market makers themselves. Because how market making works is essentially, like I said, Bitmart's API is closed source, so you can't just connect any trading bot because anyone could do market making in that case. So basically, to be a Bitmart market maker, you have to have $100,000 in BMX tokens, Bitmart's coin. So basically, market makers buy 100K in Bitmart coins, and then Bitmart approves them to be a market maker. These market makers go around and get monthly contracts by SafeMoon, etc. So that's how Bitmart makes money. It's more on the corporate side and the user side rather than SafeMoon's market making side.
Okay. Sure.
I mean, that's pretty damning. That's pretty indicative of.
That's damning maybe towards what Papa was misunderstanding.
No, it's not damning to Papa. It's damning to John Caroni, right? because John Caroni now is left without excuse for where he got all this money from
Well, he
Bitmart.
never has talked to you about an excuse, so that's you saying that, and that's Crypto Control saying that.
Wait. What do you mean? What do you mean? John Caroni is making millions of dollars from Bitmart going into the gay wallet, right? That's undisputed. Where did that money come from if all of a sudden we just heard that this whole explanation of, oh, it's this market making account that's making all this money is now moot, right? It's not a point anymore because it doesn't even make sense with how market making works. So now explain to me where this money's coming from.
And it means he lied to Thomas. He told Thomas that was a market making account. That means he lied to his teammates.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so either Thomas lied or Caroni lied to Thomas.
Either way, we're left without explanation of how John Caroni ends up with millions of dollars.
Sure. Assuming everything Yusuf says is accurate, which
we have no reason to disagree with him because he is the only person who has come forward with actual real world experience of how market makers
I'll send
work.
you the screenshots shortly to Coffezilla to basically like how the market making contract works and the base of the fees. Like, I'll take screenshots of my dashboard. So basically, it's negative fees for the users. So basically, the market making no money.
Do it,
Doesn't
Yusuf.
Car
Do
know
it.
how, wait, let Car speak because Car knows about it too. Car has a token.
Oh yeah, Kark also has a coin.
Not anymore. But so when I was in Useless, we listed with Bitmart, which if I want to go on a soapbox here for a minute, if you're a token and or a community token that's thinking about listing on Bitmart, don't. Centralized exchanges are extraordinarily predatory. They will chase after tokens, charge exorbitant tens of thousands of dollar listing fees. Once you get listed, then you don't have the volume that they require on a daily basis where they threaten to delist you unless you sign up for their market making. Now, the market making that Useless paid, because we didn't have the volume that they were looking for, because that's how they make their money and whatever. We ended up paying, I believe, around $3,000 to $5,000 a month for market making. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just so frustrated with centralized exchanges, because they lure you in that we have all these users and all these holders, and it's going to bring volume and interest in your crypto asset. And then once you get listed, it's like crickets, right? You are the product. The token community is the product when you get listed on these exchanges.
So David, so when you listed on Bitmart, you guys didn't make any profit. Well, none of that money went back to you whatsoever. None of the market making, none of the exchange fees, none of the spreads, nothing. You guys saw no profit from that whatsoever. You were paying to list, right?
Bitmart is absolutely terrible. Bitmart. I've listed on multiple exchanges, and Bitmart was by far the worst exchange profit-wise, right? Even for coin volume, because there's other exchanges like, let's say, P2B, right? They make an effort for marketing, actually pushing out the project. Bitmart are the worst people I've ever interacted with. Bitmart are actual predators, right? They're like, if you don't meet their volume, they say, oh yeah, we're concealing your pair from CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. No one will be able to see your pair. Pay the market makers the 10K per month, and then randomly they hike up the requirements. They're like, so before I need 20K in liquidity, then they needed 50K, and then I'm like, no, I've signed the contract with you explicitly stating that I need 20K in liquidity in the back end, basically because you need something called bid-ask spread. So to meet they changed the bid-ask spread to make it more requirement intensive, so they can get on those higher spots like next to Binance and stuff. So then I told them, no, I'm not obligated to basically change my provide more liquidity. They said, okay, you're concealed. So after fighting with Bitmart for 2 months, I actually had to send them like a legal letter basically saying, oh, you signed this in the contract, blah blah blah. And then they sent like a policy, and then basically I said, okay, if you want to go based on the policy, because there's something in the contract that's saying you have to meet all the policy requirements, then I can file for discrimination, because basically every coin exchange follows different requirements. They say there's one policy, basically every coin has to follow 20K bid-ask spread, but then there's some coins like XCAD, right? If everyone knows XCAD, they literally bypass all the requirements. They don't even need any volume whatsoever, and they're still unconcealed. So Bitmart basically treats coins extremely crappy, right? But if you're talking basically going back to the question, if the coin made profit, I can guarantee you SafeMoon paid more than they made from Bitmart, 100%.
Well, and to answer the original question that was that Brain asked, is no, we didn't see any revenue or anything come directly from Bitmart. It was just the pleasure of being listed on their platform. And so we did things a little differently too, based off my philosophy on that. I don't believe that there should be taxation inside the exchange. I just treat it like a black box. I want taxation in and out because I want on-chain rewards. I don't want like all of this weird tokenomic stuff happening inside the exchange. So it's a little bit different because I know that SafeMoon, when they went through and originally did their plan with Bitmart, I don't know how that changed, but 5% would be redistributed internally, and then 5% was supposed to be to auto liquidity that was supposed to be given back to SafeMoon. And so it's a little different because I believe with SafeMoon and their structure and their deal, because they did their off-chain reward system, they were receiving either tokens or USDT or whatever. I don't know exactly how they receive their compensation, but 5% of each transaction trading on the exchange was designated for auto liquidity.
Yeah. So
Correct.
I wish someone here would have exchanged or traded a token of theirs that did have internal local tokenomics, so to speak, on Bitmart, so they know more specifics on how that goes. Like Baby Doge, if you look at them, they've got the exact same Bitmart deal as SafeMoon did originally. It's like the 10%, 5% for rewards, 5% to be returned to developers, to be added back to the liquidity pool. It's like it's copy and paste from SafeMoon's original deal. So it'd be great if we could like talk to someone from Baby Doge or someone who's listed on Bitmart with something that chooses to have the trading fees.
Regardless of whether that 5% going to the liquidity goes to their market making account or to the DEX, either way, that's not money for SafeMoon, right? Because we were just talking about how SafeMoon could have made profit. Even no matter what the tokenomics were, there was no wiggle room about SafeMoon somehow making a profit from this deal, from what all these people who have listed on Bitmart are telling us. They're actually telling us that Bitmart's one of the worst when it comes to, you're not going to make any money. You're going to pay money to be listed on Bitmart. And by the way, I have an email from Bitmart themselves telling me this, where they said, I said, hey, did basically you pay all this money to SafeMoon? And they responded to me and they said, no, Bitmart, or they paid us to list. Now, they didn't talk about the whole, all the tokenomics and stuff, but they were very clear, and they never said that they paid SafeMoon a dime. And in the
we all know there was a listing fee like that. That's very public knowledge. I think
right,
that was,
but that just further corroborates everything everyone else has been telling us. Now we have two people who have Bitmart deals who are both telling us the same thing, which is that you're not making money when you get listed on Bitmart.
And it shows an avenue for Coroni's innocence because, again, the question is, where did this money come from? Correct. And you're saying that, oh, it may have come from the market making it's going on Bitmart. But if everybody here is telling you there is no money to be made on Bitmart, now we're left with, again, with the question, where did the money come from? And now the Bitmart excuse is not valid.
I was wondering if Kark, if you could speak to that based on your knowledge and your perspective, because Kark's actually a really smart guy. That based on what you know, is it ridiculous to suggest that SafeMoon or John could have made 19 million or whatever that number is of Tether based off of market making with Bitmart?
Well, again, if there's a market making deal that that led to some sort of money being made on SafeMoon's behalf, there is something that John did tell me once, where he said something to the effect of that when he made deals with exchanges, that I don't want to use the wrong verbiage, but something to the effect of that he basically raked them over the coals. He got a really good deal out of it in one way or another, and I'm not exactly sure what that means. So, but no, I don't know. I don't know where the funds go and how the funds are managed, or if there was sort of some weird market making deal that there's some percentage that was moved around or something to that effect. If it is some sort of special deal, that might be able to explain it. But I just don't know. Because that's the problem with these centralized exchanges is they're black boxes. You don't know exactly. They treat different tokens differently. They have different, what they do in the exchange is not transparent like it is on the blockchain. And so, yeah, you can have different deals and have absolutely no knowledge or indications to what's going on. And that's one of the reasons why I just don't like it. And I think it would be valuable on SafeMoon's side to be able to map out and to just as a form of transparency, I think it would be valuable and good, I think, for everyone for them to explain exactly how things do work with Bitmart and how that money does move around and what happens with the 5% that is designated for auto liquidity, maybe even demonstrate some of the transactions for that.
They'll
That
never
would be
do that,
absolutely
though.
wonderful.
They'll never do that because they would have done it already. I mean, none of that would have violated anything with the lawsuit, but they'll never do that. Hey, we have somebody named Docstradamus, who looks like they're a CEO of a coin. Maybe they can speak more to Bitmart.
Yeah, so we actually have a reflections token on Bitmart. Thanks for letting me speak. So you do get paid out in USDT from a reflection token, but there's a very possible way that SafeMoon actually did make this money. So you have a market maker for multiple reasons, and they all have a different account associated with it. So each time I go through something, imagine there's a different account for it. So one is the order book. That's your 25 and 25. So you've got your 25,000 in USD, and then you got your 25,000 in the token. And the order book is made to maintain itself. So you never want to sell anything out of your order book. It just goes up and down and keeps the price stable. You can validate this by going onto like a Bitmart and buying 40,000 in BUSD at a time. It'll either skyrocket or tank the price very momentarily. So account number 2 with your market maker is usually volume. And market makers don't get paid for volume accounts either. It's just your standard monthly fee. And that's to meet minimum volume requirements or maybe exceed volume in some capacity. But then there are 3 and 4 accounts, and those are called cash out accounts. So because you want your assets to stay stable in account 1 and 2, if you as a company want to taper off of assets in a way that doesn't harm anyone and doesn't negatively impact anyone, you send it to account number 3 and 4, which are cash out accounts. Now the market maker does take profits from this along with you. So because exchanges don't operate on a liquidity pool, it's the only prices that you can control. I can't control my price in PancakeSwap. I can control it on an exchange. So the exchange, more or less, to meet the spread requirements, has to maintain the same price as it is on PancakeSwap. So if I have these accounts set up and I have a whole bunch of buys going on Bitmart, my company is selling an equivalent on top of it. So that's probably where the $15 million came from, because there's no other way to manage it.
Wait, sorry, I'm confused. Can you kind of speak to this slightly more about how this cash out works? Because I think a lot of us aren't familiar with why or how you could cash out money. Because you have to understand, all this money was meant to be for investors, right? And obviously, we all know you can't make money from thin air. So if no money is being generated through the volume for the coin, how is money being made out of thin air sort of into the company's pocket?
So you've got organic buys on Bitmart, right? And again, so if they listed with multiple exchanges, you have to go off a singular price point that your market maker is going to want to match. In our case, on BSC, or if you're on Uniswap, right, you want to go off of the DEX price. Now, we don't control the entire liquidity pool. I guess we technically do, but you should never control the entire liquidity pool on a DEX, right? So those buys are purely organic, right? If someone buys, it raises the price. If someone sells, it lowers the price. It's that easy. Every one of the exchanges has to match the price. So your order book and your volume accounts are made to keep that price stable, to make sure that big buys on Bitmart don't cause this massive amount of arbitrage and someone can go and turn and rob your liquidity pool, or vice versa, right? You want to make sure everything maintains a stable price, and you can control the price on exchanges. So because you don't want your buy and sell accounts, your order book maintenance accounts, to actually impact, you don't want to sell or buy actual tokens from it. You just want it maintaining the spread. The cash out accounts, when someone does have an organic buy on Bitmart, it would sell the equivalent of that buy. So it's actually doing it in a way that doesn't negatively impact holders. Otherwise, the money just stays in Bitmart.
I'm sorry. So when there's a buy, you sell, but when there's a sell, you have to buy, right? So I don't understand where all this.
That's what the order book does. So think of this cash out account being just when somebody buys, it's an equivalent taper off. It's just automatic sell orders coming from this. So
yeah, but it doesn't make sense. No, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense to how then the order book wouldn't be depleted, because when you're buying, when there's a buy, you cash out. When there's a sell, you buy from the order book. So wouldn't you be depleting your reserves from your order book if you're just buying, and then when there's a buy, you sell? Like, so money's flowing out, but where's the money flowing back into your order book, I guess?
So it doesn't really flow back into the order book because it's separate. It's similar to like if someone were just to go and buy on Bitmart or sell on Bitmart outside who doesn't own the token. There's no order book associated with it. The only order book is to maintain that spread. So that's your first account. And why Papa is probably saying it was going to multiple accounts, and you think one is John's personal account, and it very well may have been. It's because they set up these other accounts to taper off of the mini buys that they were getting at the time. Because as that price goes up, if you don't have those accounts, as a project, you're not making anything at all. So basically, and we learned this too late, and I think the big problem with exchanges is nobody gives you a guidebook up front of like what you can and can't do. But as your price goes up on an exchange, because it's going up on PancakeSwap, you still don't have a reasonable way to sell as a project owner unless you have one of these other accounts go up. So the money, if you don't have a cash out account, stays in Bitmart, and it will continue to stay in Bitmart. The money, if you do have a cash out account, does actually come back to the company, come back to the organization and the enterprise. So
forgive me for speaking up. I just don't understand. I'm just unfamiliar with this because, and maybe somebody can explain it better. I just kind of always operate sort of on a pretty simplistic model of like, if money's marked for something and then all of a sudden you're generating profit from that, right? Money's marked for a liquidity pool. All of a sudden the liquidity pool is supposedly staying the same, but money is being generated, and there's no explanation how other than, well, when they buy, we sell, and then we take the money. I don't understand how that's not like a repurposing of funds.
Well, exchanges. Oh, sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Exchanges operate on their own liquidity pool. Like no token has a liquidity pool on an exchange. You have a buy and sell order book. So Exchanger is operating on their own. And that's why like institutional adoption of Coinbase never happened, because they have to freeze assets when people withdraw, because that's the centralized liquidity for the exchange, the entirety of the exchange. So what happens, and sometimes these exchanges make even more money or have a larger liquidity pool, is when people are buying this new token on an exchange, all that is going to the centralized liquidity pool. So some people, again, we didn't do this because we didn't know, quite frankly, but some people will set up those cash out accounts, and instead of all that money going to the exchange's central liquidity pool, they end up going to the projects. And that does nothing to negatively impact the price, does nothing to negatively impact the liquidity pool of the
Wouldn't
project
it thin
itself.
out the liquidity on the centralized exchange, though?
It would, but on this scale, it wouldn't impact anything. Like,
well, what we
we
had, and what I was curious about was SafeMoon kept sending like billions and billions of tokens to this centralized exchange. And my question was, well, if there's a balance of tokens, they wouldn't need to do that, right? Like eventually they would just have enough liquidity and they'd be fine. But if what you're telling us is that they were draining it out sort of to the side to make a profit while basically constantly repurposing these funds, it's pretty easy to see why they were so excited to send funds to Bitmart, right? Is because they basically...
My bad.
Sorry, Coffee, continue. You got muted by
No,
mistake.
it's basically they found out a way to just turn these funds into like basically go from this centralized exchange and just throw it into their own pockets. I mean, I don't know if this is standard practice or whatever, but this is certainly not the deal that we were all told about, and this wasn't from market making. You're just basically
it sounds like money laundering.
They had access to the funds, so they just put it in their own pocket. But I don't understand how this isn't some kind of you keep saying it's not impacting the price, but to me, if it's impacting the liquidity, then it is impacting price.
Liquidity and price are always interchangeable, whether it's centralized or decentralized.
Yeah, but what's changing, Park, is who's controlling that liquidity. From the scenario Dr. Stradamus was talking about, it sounds like it goes from the liquidity pool to being like a team-controlled wallet by basically laundering it through the exchanges.
Correct. That's what I understand as well.
I wouldn't call it laundering. That I wouldn't go that extreme with it. I think it comes off negative because everybody here is so unfamiliar with it. So like SafeMoon wouldn't be making any money unless they sold tokens, right? We could all agree on that. That's how their economic model was. They issued themselves tokens. You're not going to make money unless you sell it, right?
Correct.
So they've got two options to sell it. They could sell it from PancakeSwap, which just destroys the liquidity pool because they had so much money in these tokens. It would just destroy the liquidity pool. It would ruin the entire project. And I'm not saying that to an extent someone did within
But
the team.
why?
But if you put it on Bitmart and keep it on these exchanges, you can either let Bitmart keep all of that money, or you as a project can actually make money on your token and not negatively impact your own investors and your own holders.
I'm still confused on how this doesn't negatively impact. That's just something that doesn't compute with
Yeah,
me.
this sounds like financial alchemy, dude. The money has to be coming from somewhere.
Well, I want to say this as well. I mean, what he's saying is, look, SafeMoon wanted to sell. They can either sell on a DEX or on a CEX. So they were just doing it on the CEX to try to hide it and or not negatively impact price. The problem that most of these people on this call have with that conclusion is that SafeMoon was saying very publicly that they were not going to do this. The whole point of their liquidity pool, and I don't know how familiar you are with the story, is that SafeMoon was locking these funds up for investors, right? There was never any mention of, hey guys, we might dip into this project and actually take some of the money for ourselves. Instead, there was a 4-year lockup on a pool of funds for the team that they were going to unlock after 4 years, and that was going to be their big payday, right? And so they said, we're basically working until then on this project. Now, whether you want to call that naive or not,
no one's debating that.
Yeah, and I won't debate that either. I honestly don't know enough about it to debate either direction on that. But I will clear up one misconception. There is no company-owned liquidity pool on exchanges. It's just an order book. And it's an order book that refreshes every couple of minutes if you use something automated. And it's just buys and sells to maintain the spread. So that one person, if you don't have that order book, one person could go on and buy $10 worth of your token and it would skyrocket. And it happens usually like right when a token lists on an exchange.
Right, but that's usually when a token doesn't have the volume that you see, like something like SafeMoon, especially in its heyday. You'd have people going through and creating their own. They were buying massive amounts and selling massive amounts, and I guess the whole concept of an order book model is that it's organic, right? Especially with the volume that SafeMoon had, that you wouldn't necessarily need market making for this to happen. And honestly, arbitrage is a normal, natural process, right? I mean, if and people are incentivized to list to if they're actively trading this or botting it, right? That they would have buy order set and they would have sell order set, and with the volume of something of SafeMoon, that you wouldn't necessarily need market making as near as much as you would with a token with very, very little volume and interest, right?
I would say the exact opposite, actually. You have to have a market maker that has a ton of buy and sell orders on an automatic basis to make sure that that market making account stays stable and you stay within a spread requirement. So the spread requirement for exchanges is generally 2 to 5%. Anything over that and you get a little nasty gram from them. And that 2 to 5% is based off of your average across all exchanges and dexes. So again, you have to pin it to the one that you can't control. In their situation, it's PancakeSwap because that's where buy and sell orders actually directly impact the price. So you have to have a bigger order book if you have more volume, regardless of if you want to do any type of cash out activity or not. Your order book has to be pretty tremendous if you're getting $150 million a day in volume on a singular exchange, because there's no liquidity pool to back it. It's all one liquidity pool that covers all of these tokens.
Yusuf, can you speak to a little bit of this?
Yeah, so basically I wanted to clarify about the cash out method. So basically market makers provide this cash out option. It's quite new, especially on Bitmart. A lot of Bitmart market makers are offering this. And essentially in their words, this is, if you don't understand, this is how they explain it. This is, I'm reading a quoting from my market maker when they're explaining it to me. They said, the cash out bot calculates the best bid-ask spread frequency algorithm and creates it in the order book without any impact on the price. Then the bot waits until someone buys it. If any buyer sets an ask lower than our bid-ask spread, then the bot recalculates the and resets the ask again. So essentially, you know, some people who place orders above the market price, basically the bot recalculates it to meet their market price, and then basically they sell it for a profit. That's basically how it works. But there is also a negative side. So he is correct in saying it doesn't affect the price. But the negative side about it is if there's high volume, then they'll be making a lot of revenue, correct? But the market makers actually get 10% of this. It isn't a free thing. Market makers take 10% of the cash out service. So these market makers could be offloading tokens also.
They very well could. And not all market makers are going to take 10% from any type of cash out activities. There are some that will actually loan money to your company and take a long-term position within your token as well. So it's not all a bad thing, and exchanges aren't all a bad thing or a negative thing to gain exposure and traction either. And I think the point that I was trying to make is that $15 million could be pretty easily accounted for. And I know the market maker that you're using because they're Bitmarts, that one you just described, and they do have that function of cash out. So if somebody says, hey, Papa, send your tokens here if you want me to turn them into cash, and he did that and got cash back out, or they had a collective one and he did that and they all got cash back out, that's the most reasonable and simple explanation for it. That's not me coming to anybody's defense. It's just kind of the logics of Bitmart and what I know their market maker to do, and knowing that they were one of the first exchanges of SafeMoon.
This is super helpful. No, I think everyone here appreciates your insight into all of this. I still am like really deeply not understanding how this doesn't just, this isn't sort of like a, what do you call it? This isn't sort of like a roundabout way of selling tokens without looking like you're selling tokens, right? Without a impact of price, but a thinning of liquidity.
I mean, and I just came into this situation. I would say that that's either just a misunderstanding from my explanation or an internal bias or an innate bias because of other things that they've done. Because this is the most moral and ethical way to taper off of tokens if you need it for money, just to be completely transparent. Otherwise, they would have to sell in waves on PancakeSwap, and it would be bad for everybody because they held so much money. They blew up quicker than anything we've ever seen. So they held so much money that this was the only logical option for them to say, hey, we got to turn this into operating capital. This is how we do it. Now, what they did with it is another story entirely.
Yeah, but Doc's the point that he's trying to make is that, like, even if this order of operations that you and Yusuf were talking about, if this is how it works, there is no way it can't impact the price. The money has to be coming from somewhere, the US dollars, the USDT, the BUSD, whatever. So, like, in this roundabout fashion of having some founding organization cashing out, it's basically front running the market. It's like, oh, if the market has enough volume to support it, we can just front run it before the bids like hit the order books, and we can just take our chips off the table and then allow, like, just drain the liquidity in a roundabout way.
Right. That's a way to look at it for sure. So, like, liquidity pools on exchanges, like I said, they're centralized. So they want to cover, if they had a mass exit, they want to cover that exit and pretty much nothing else, right? That's what they're trying to do and how they bring in more liquidity. So that liquidity stays on the exchange. If you don't do it, generally it won't negatively impact anybody unless there's a mass exodus out of the exchange. Then some people might not get their money out of it. But that's if, like, the exchange tanks or there's a huge market fluctuation and everybody pulls out. I think this happened with somebody recently. That's why I'm pausing, because I'm trying to remember who it was, and they had to get bailed out by someone else because these exchanges don't actually have the right amounts of liquidity to operate, and they wouldn't be allowed to if they weren't crypto exchanges. That's a big hit on Coinbase still.
If I put a massive sell order of tokens on an order book exchange and created this massive sell wall, right? And people were like struggling to like try to break the sell wall, right? You could argue that it doesn't impact the price, but you're selling a ton of tokens and you are impacting what the price could be. So, like, if I have a ton of tokens in existence and I create a massive sell wall, like, absolutely sure, like, you could argue, oh, this doesn't impact the price, but it does impact what the future price could be. And so that's just a distinction that I want to make, is that, you know, when you say does it impact the price, I don't know, that just doesn't set well with me, just because, again, from economics of scale, like what Brain says, that money has to come from somewhere. So I'm just trying to reason through this. Like, you may say it doesn't affect the price, at least from like an operation standpoint, it doesn't tank the price, but you need to look at it from the perspective of what the price could have been if lots and lots and lots of tokens aren't liquidated. And this isn't talking about SafeMoon. I'm just talking in general, right, on how centralized exchanges should or shouldn't operate, or how liquidity should or shouldn't operate. That I don't think it's moral. I don't think it would be ethical for a project to create a massive sell wall and not allow the price to go above a certain point if there is a ton of market interest, where the price would be 20 or 30% higher if they wouldn't have done that.
Okay, but here's
Guys, sorry to mute everyone, but we've got Peter from Everrise who's had signed up for a while, and he's probably got some good info. So,
hey,
go ahead, Peter.
Hey, sorry, just getting my mute situation sorted. Thanks for having me up. I definitely agree with Kark's point that money comes from somewhere, and if you throw your lot in with market making on centralized exchanges, you start to act more like the casino than a particular player. So any price fluctuations will not be nearly as visible, but they are meaningful. If a poker game goes on for eternity, then only one person wins, and that's the house. What's kind of getting lost here is the idea that, like, isn't this supposed to be a decentralized protocol, and therefore isn't the very idea of selling tokens for any kind of benefit totally anathema? Like, in my view, something with a community as large as SafeMoon would be better off just dismissing everybody related to any kind of development at all, and exist as a pair with BNB that might do well over time. The community has achieved minimally viable status, and there is no reason to yank millions and millions of dollars outside of that community's hand. If that's the kind of investment you want, go look at startups and go look at the stock market, because they have more experienced teams and they don't talk in doublespeak all the time. So, there's no reason for a DeFi protocol to be yanking millions and millions of dollars out of their holders' hands through whatever medium, whether it's by assisting an exchange in market making or simply yanking it out of the liquidity pool. So, like, I'm sorry this is not terribly informative. My only question is, what in the hell is going on here?
Well, I wanted to jump on that real quick, because I think it's an important point for what I've been trying to communicate, and I think you probably put it better than I could, which is simply that if SafeMoon had come to their followers and said, "Hey guys, we're going to be selling off millions of tokens. We're going to try to do it without affecting price, but we're basically going to be raising tons of operating capital in order to create all these crazy new endeavors," or whatever, that would be one thing. The problem is they didn't say that. They didn't pitch that. And well after they were the most famous and high priced as they ever were, they changed their entire operation, right? What they pitched to investors was very different than, hey, we're going to be secretly selling off into this market making cash out wallet. Whether or not you want to say, oh, it doesn't affect price this way or that way, this is literally not the kind of thesis of the company. So a lot of people have been saying fraud is because the thesis of the company was one thing. They come and take a ton of operating capital, and then John Caroni pockets a lot of it. No matter how you get there, if people didn't invest based on that idea of this is what we're doing, I think that's fraud. If you say we're locking these funds up and they're not locked up, and then you go spend them somewhere or you go make money somewhere, no matter how you want to justify it, oh, it's operating capital, it doesn't matter. That isn't what you brought people on to invest for. And also, so I hope that kind of it makes sense of why I think a lot of us are we're not trying to come in with a negative bias on what this cash out operation is. I think we're coming in just with an expectation of what they kind of set the expectations at, if that makes sense.
It does make
I
sense.
think
And
that's
it's not
really
just that. Sorry, I was going to finish this point. It's not just the thesis of the company that they outlined. It's the thesis of DeFi that everybody has taken and run with. That this is all about decentralized control over your own assets and not having to rely on the efforts of one group of folks. So it's about a world where we don't have to plow millions and millions of dollars into half-baked ideas. It's about a place where we can pool together assets of value like BNB, Ethereum, Phantom, Avalanche, Polygon, whatever, and then do the community work of building that group so we can talk about the reasons decentralization is important to us, not about advancing all these vague ideas about evolutionizing the world and changing everything with talents that are still unspoken. So the entire DeFi space has kind of hijacked this Satoshi-style language while creating entities that are violently centralized and exist to take money out of their holders' hands.
Yeah, and I'm not going to refute any of that. Actually, I think all of your points are are pretty accurate as a whole. And what I'm trying to do here is shine light on something, not defend it. I'll say that in the interest of balance, for every up, there's going to be a down here. So like the same thing is true if someone sells a massive amount on a centralized exchange. That order book price is going to be maintained based off of your pancake swap value. If anything, it's just taking money out of the exchange itself and putting it into control of people, or maybe some good company, maybe some bad company.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and that's all it is. And it's not robbing Peter to pay Paul. There is no, because that price is going to be maintained regardless. It's just where the money ends up going, right? If somebody buys $50,000 of my token, it doesn't matter if I sell an equivalent 50 or not. It's still going to remain at the same price on that centralized exchange because we have to peg it to the uncontrollable.
Well,
But centralized.
no, that's not quite correct, because you're taking away other legitimate buy orders. If there was a person if there was a person who legitimately wanted to buy tokens, you've now taken away that $1,000 from them. So you're destroying the demand from legitimate buyers to take money away from them, which will eventually impact the price, because other people will then arbitrage the price difference between PancakeSwap and the SEX.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing point. And I just actually also wanted to ask you, Docs, is that you said earlier that if you don't take the profit, then Bitmart would get the profit. And if that was true, why would Bitmart be willing to give away that $15 million?
So it's not Bitmart's profit. Like it's they have to maintain liquidity so that if a bunch of people exit their platform, right, they have liquidity to allow people to continue to exit on the platform. That's what it is. It's actually like can be truly described as exit liquidity. People who take their money and move it to another exchange, they actually have to move the cash. Until you move something off of an exchange, it's all the same liquidity pool. No matter what token you have, no matter if it's USDT, it goes back to not your keys, not your tokens. And that's the same thing with your cash. If it's not in your bank account, it's not your cash. It's the exchange's cash, whether it's in USDT or USD. All that is in the same liquidity pool. So, I mean, these are market makers that, Yusuf even said they chose themselves. They had to pass a test to be Bitmart's market makers. Yeah, and that's really the best explanation I can give for you.
Well, at a moment of silence, I just see I'm getting some mentions, and people are like, "Oh, SafeMoon is not just a DeFi token, so we're not necessarily subject to the strictures of the DeFi token." If it's more than a DeFi token and it's a business that's building shit, buy equity. Like, don't just buy these tokens that anybody can launch into a liquidity pool or onto an exchange and instantly transmute into millions and millions of dollars. That seems pretty valueless to me. If it's more than a DeFi token, then go ahead and sell some equity.
I think that's where we agree 100%. And looking back, like centralized exchanges, they're a secondary market for a DeFi product. That's it. And we did it to gain exposure, just like most tokens do. But that's what it is. You're creating a secondary market in which no one who utilizes that market can actually utilize the token itself, which is how it's designed. But SafeMoon also didn't have a product at the time either. And I don't think has a product that supports their token right now. So centralized exchange makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, Peter, that's kind of the problem that I and other people that have approached this community with clarity have run into. It's that you point out all of the anti-DeFi things that this company is doing, and they're like, oh, but we're not a company. And then you're like, oh, but then you're unregistered securities. It's like, no, but we're DeFi. We're a decentralized crypto. It's like they want both at the same time. You know what I mean? They want their cake and to eat it too.
It's hard out there. When people create a token, they don't expect to become billionaires, or they don't expect the market cap to blow up. So 99% of the time, everything you hear from a founder is just post hoc rationalization of all the dumb shit they did. And so it doesn't necessarily mean anybody is evil. It just means folks go into things without a plan. And some people are mature enough to say, wow, let me figure this out. And others are like, holy shit, I can make off with $10 million now? Bet.
Well, and I can just say from my experience in jumping into the space is that if I knew what I knew now when I jumped in, I wouldn't have made a lot of the same decisions that I did. And so I think people need to be willing to look at the current situation, what they're involved with, and then be willing to adapt and adjust. I mean, there's a reason why I stepped down as CEO of a decentralized protocol because it doesn't make any sense, at least in my mind. So I go, this should be a DAO. I shouldn't be lording over some sort of DeFi protocol. It's not a DeFi protocol. That's the conclusion that I came to. And that's why I made it a DAO and stepped aside. I mean, I still advise the project and I still help out where I can, but I'm not leading the project. It's the community that's doing that. And so I think it's just in general that I think that people who are involved in these tokens, I think you make a really good point, is that sometimes you get into the weeds of it, and then you need to always maintain that perspective of what you're trying to do. And if you are truly philosophically in favor of decentralization, then you're going to move towards that. If you're in favor of building sort of a centralized business, you're going to move towards that. And so I think that John Caroni has always been very clear about where he wants SafeMoon to be, which is a hybridized model. And I've always, I say this to his face, right? I've always been pretty clear with him, is that I don't think there is such a thing as a hybridization. You're either centralized or you're decentralized. You can utilize some DeFi aspects, sure. But at the end of the day, let's call a spade a spade. If you're centralized, you're centralized.
We have a new speaker, Mike. Who?
Go ahead, Crypto Control.
I think that, Matt, I don't think you and Amy can hear each other. So I think you guys are like telling different people they can go. I just wanted to say real quick that it sounds like, and I don't understand this either, but it sounds like we're describing arbitrage. That it's like, oh, we have to keep the SEX price the same as the DEX. So we're going to arbitrage our own price on the SEX. And it seems like we're trying to say that there is no way that this has a negative impact on anybody, but it's also at the same time able to produce $15 million. And I think that just, it seems like as if we wouldn't have done those market maker things, that the investors would have naturally done that, and that would have had a better effect on the liquidity pool in the long run.
I don't think my argument is that it doesn't have a negative effect on anybody. I'm saying if their goal was to pull money out, this would have the least negative impact of what their options were, to my understanding of the situation. If this is where all the money came from, like people are saying, then this would be the least unethical thing I've heard about SafeMoon in a very long time, to be quite frank. That's not to say whether or not it's ethical. I'm saying that disparate impact to your holders should always be your number one priority, right? Like if I sell, is this going to disparately impact everybody who owns my token on an exchange, on a decentralized exchange, wherever it may be? Then that's probably the worst decision you can make. So if you need the money to build all the things that you promise people, and that you probably shouldn't have promised people because you weren't equipped to do it, then this would be the least unethical way to do it. Not to say that it's ethical, and not to say that it's morally right.
It's the best way to do something you shouldn't do, basically. That's what you're saying.
Well, and I want to go back to the sell wall argument, right? Is that you could put a sell wall up on a centralized exchange and people try to break through it. And yeah, you can say you're not negatively impacting the price. You're not dumping on the holders, but you're restricting the price growth and you're pocketing the difference. And so that's just something that, again, I'm not even talking about SafeMoon here, right? You're siphoning demand. And so that's something that I would just have a concern about, just in general, from a philosophical standpoint, right? Is that that's not negatively impacting the price. You are negatively impacting the price because you're not allowing it to grow to where it could be.
Yeah, and there's really only one way around that, and that's either to have a market maker that does control PancakeSwap as well, so that as you get assets off of the exchange, you use it to enhance your liquidity pool in a decentralized capacity, because then all of those buys actually matter. And that's the only time and only way to make all of these buys actually matter.
Well,
Other than that, someone's always losing money.
Well, here's my argument on it, right? You have different decentralized liquidity pools, and you have bots that are running back and forth doing arbitrage. And that's normal. You have a global liquidity. That's how it works. And so the real way to do this, in my opinion, right? I think the only argument is perhaps the spread, is that you just let natural arbitrage take its course, right? If PancakeSwap is a lot cheaper than what's on the exchange, then people will buy on PancakeSwap and they'll sell on the exchange, and that will just naturally bring the price down. So I just don't understand why, exchanges have to peg towards PancakeSwap when in reality, just regular market arbitrage forces are going to affect the balance of what's being in the exchange, like any other. It just doesn't make, it doesn't compute to me.
Yeah, and this is a saying in the stock market as well. It's that the only person making money on an exchange is the market maker. And it's true in crypto, it's true in the stock market, it's true everywhere else. They are going to make the most money. Whoever's doing the market making, whoever's getting the maker taker fees and tapering off of assets is going to be making more money than anybody else, always.
There's a new speaker, Peter Bosch. Looks like a SafeMoon victim. Might be interesting to hear from you. Peter Bosch. Calling all SafeMoon victims. Come up.
I'm a victim. He stole millions from me.
All right, I'm going to step down. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Peter Bosch going once, going twice. Okay, get out. Any SafeMoon victims want to come up?
Hey, I got to run. Thanks, guys, for letting me speak. I appreciate it. If anyone wants to reach out and wants like more of an explanation, happy to give it to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know I kind of accidentally started your time here, so I really appreciate all the information you provided. So I have a question for someone who knows better than I do. For natural arbitrage between, say, PancakeSwap and a CEX, how does that work with the 10% fees? I don't remember if with Bitmart specifically, if when you sent tokens to Bitmart, was there a 10% tax and an additional one if you tried to sell there? Or was there no tax to send to Bitmart and then you got taxed when you sold? But with that 10% difference in fees that you're going to get in one way or another, like how would arbitrage work with something like SafeMoon or Baby Doge or anything that's on a centralized exchange and decentralized exchange and both have, say, something like 10% fees on buys and sells?
So I believe the market makers were all paying the tax on PancakeSwap. I don't think any of them were excluded. So they were paying 10% to buy and sell on PancakeSwap. They were also paying another 10% to transfer the tokens to Bitmart. And then I don't know if they would be paying the tax